Chapter 625. All the arrays in Jianghu branch were activated, making the buildings in Jianghu branch look extremely luxurious, like a fairyland. This was the annual grand event of Jianghu branch and a major event of the entire Jianghu Empire. Many forces of the Jianghu Empire would come to watch the end-of-year examination on this day. At the same time, they wanted to see who had entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The status of the students who entered the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin would be greatly improved in the Jianghu Empire. The gate of Jianghu branch was surrounded by carriages of aristocratic families. The guards at the gate of Jianghu branch announced their names one by one. At this moment, a voice sounded. Duke Ling's mansion of the Jianghu Empire is here. As this voice resounded, the surroundings instantly fell silent. Duke Ling's mansion. Everyone knew about the recent changes in the imperial capital of the Jianghu Empire. The imperial family of the Jianghu Empire was destroyed and Duke Ling's mansion took the throne. The people of Duke Ling's mansion had already moved to the imperial capital and became the new ruler of the Jianghu Empire. The reason why they were still using the name of Duke Ling's mansion was that they hadn't received the letter of request from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Once they were recognized by the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, the Ling family would be the new imperial family of the Jianghu Empire. And it was time to change the name of the Jianghu Empire. Seeing Duke Ling and the others get off the carriages, the masters of aristocratic families all gathered around them. If it were another aristocratic family, even if they destroyed the imperial family of the Jianghu Empire, it wouldn't be so easy for them to become the new emperor of the Jianghu Empire. But the Ling family had the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It was said that even the Lanhua family had helped them. With such an honor, the Ling family's position was as stable as Mount Tai. Unless something happened to evil Dr. Ghost Eye or the Ling family fell out with evil Dr. Ghost Eye, the aristocratic families of the Jianghu Empire wouldn't dare to act rashly even if they coveted the supreme throne. They could only watch the Ling family take the throne with envy and jealousy. They really didn't know what kind of luck they had. Out of so many people, evil physician Gui Tong only picked them to be the successors of Tianyu's royal family. Even as a puppet, there were many aristocratic families in the Jianghu Empire who wanted to win Ghost Eye's favor. Just as the people from the aristocratic families were greeting Duke Ling and the others with envy and jealousy, the voice of the guard from Jianghu branch sounded again. The Yanyu family of the Jianghu Empire is here. Following this voice, the group of people immediately turned their heads to look at the path they had come from. The Lanhua family's carriage appeared before everyone's eyes. It was a carriage that only the family head of the direct line of descent could ride. The old master of the Lanhua family. Seeing the carriage stop at the entrance of the Jianghu branch academy and elder Lanhua walk out from it, everyone immediately cried out in alarm. Old Duke Ling, on the other hand, immediately went up to greet him with a smile when he saw old master Yanyu get off the carriage. Haha. Old master, I didn't expect you to come too. He said with a smile, you're also here for that person, right? Speaking of that person, old Duke Ling's heart was filled with emotions. He didn't expect it at all. The evil Dr. Ghost Eye that he admired so much turned out to be Luo Qingtong from the eastern border country. How many people underestimated the strength and ability of the daughter of a marquis from a low-level country? Chapter 626. If Luo Qingtong hadn't been willing to reveal it herself, old Duke Ling would never have guessed it even if he racked his brains. When he heard the news from his grandson, he thought they were joking. After confirming that it was true, he felt like he was living in a dream for a period of time. Damn, this world was too fantastical. Old Duke Lanhua was no less surprised than him. When Luo Qingtong asked him for help, she didn't deliberately hide her identity. In addition, Xiaoxi was rescued in Nine Magi Mountain. With the Lanhua family's ability, they could naturally find out Luo Qingtong's identity. They didn't expect that Luo Qingtong was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. The people of Tianyu's imperial family were really digging their own graves. If they had treated the Luo family and Luo Qingtong better back then, they wouldn't have ended up like this. When old Duke Lanhua heard that Luo Qingtong was going to participate in the Tianyu branch's end-of-year examination, he naturally came to support her. Old Duke Lanhua's arrival surprised everyone in the Tianyu branch. One had to know that the Lanhua family's foundation was extraordinary. The disciples of the Lanhua family were all directly admitted to the empire of Qin's Saint Court to cultivate. As for the young master of the Lanhua family, he was even more amazing. That was someone at the level of a peerless genius. The place where he was located was something that even the empire of Qin's Saint Court couldn't reach. Under such circumstances, old Duke Lanhua's appearance in the Tianyu branch immediately caused the entire school to move out. Everyone crowded around old Duke Lanhua and appeared in the stands next to the end-of-year examination arena. Under the envious and jealous gazes of everyone, old Duke Ling was invited by old Duke Lanhua and sat directly next to him. One had to know that that was the seat of the first row. It was also the seat where the people of the empire of Qin's Saint Court would sit. Even the dean of the Tianyu branch wasn't qualified to sit there. However, with old Master Lanhua's invitation, old Duke Ling was able to secure a seat among them. And all of this was because of Luo Qingtong. Old Duke Ling sat there and was very clear in his heart. As for the aristocratic families of the Tianyu Empire, seeing Master Lanhua's actions, they no longer had any thoughts of opposing the Ling family. With the support of evil Dr. Ghost Eye and the help of the Lanhua family, the Ling family was definitely going to sit on the throne. While everyone was heading to the spectator stands, the people from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin also arrived. Screech! An incomparably sharp cry rang out, and then an incomparably ferocious and mighty bird appeared in front of everyone. Rank 8 Demonic Beast. Looking at the huge bird that seemed to contain incomparable power descending from the sky, the surrounding people suddenly let out a burst of exclamations. A rank 8 monstrous beast. That was a powerful monstrous beast comparable to a martial ancestor. Once it reached tier 9, it would only be a step away from transforming into a divine beast. Some powerful 9th stage demonic beasts could even fight against Saint Realm experts. Seeing the huge rank 8 demonic beast descending with the people from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin on its back, the people from the Tianyu branch finally realized how powerful the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was. A random team sent to recruit students from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was already so powerful. How powerful was the real Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin? However, they were amazed in their hearts, but they didn't know that the leader of the team from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was full of helplessness. Grand Dean. Didn't you say that you were here to recruit students from the Tianyu branch? Chapter 627. Clang. 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 As the students of the Empire of Qin landed on the spectator stand, the bell that signaled the start of the end-of-year examination rang violently. Students of Tianyu branch began to head to the martial arts practice field in the center of the school. In the dormitory of the lower class, Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She raised her head to look outside and then closed her eyes again. What's the hurry? Let Shi Qingqing and the others be arrogant for a while. If I don't give them some hope, how will they know what despair is? Luo Qingtong liked to hunt down others when they were at their proudest. That kind of prey was the most delicious. Moreover, Shi Qingqing and the others. If I let them die so easily, how can I be worthy of them attacking me and the others? No matter what, I have to let them perform well. When they are satisfied with their performance, I'll go on the stage. Let's watch monkeys perform tricks. Isn't that right? Swish. Luo Qingtong raised her hand. A blood-red glow suddenly appeared in her eyes. A series of perfect moves flashed out from the screen. They were the cultivation methods and martial arts techniques that Luo Qingtong found from the bodies of the martial emperors when she killed the royal family of Tianyu. She could use this opportunity to familiarize herself with them. Cultivation methods and martial arts techniques. Who would complain about having too many? In particular, there were several cultivation methods of wind and thunder, which were suitable to be used together with the wind and thunder sword. After all, as her strength increased, she would have to hide the life and death yin-yang sword. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Luo Qingtong didn't forget Tian Mingzi's advice. Bang! 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 In the martial arts practice field of Tianyu branch, the fight was fierce. As soon as Shi Qingqing showed her strength, she suppressed the whole field. The people of Tianyu branch didn't expect her strength to become so strong. Her strength was close to that of a middle-level martial king. The students on the stage were no match for her. Bang! As Zhang Haopeng was also kicked off the arena, Shi Qingqing's figure spun in the air above the arena. She looked at Zhang Haopeng, who was crawling to his feet below the arena, and smiled. "Senior brother Zhang, you admit it." Zhang Haopeng remained silent with a cold face. Shi Qingqing's strength was not just a little bit stronger than his. Damn it, this woman had hidden herself too deeply. Seeing that Zhang Haopeng, who had just entered the martial king realm, was beaten off the stage, the Tianyu branch students were all shocked. Wow! Senior brother Zhang also lost. It looks like Senior Shi has really gotten first place in the year-end assessment this time. Yes. Senior sister Shi was too strong. By the way, where did Luo Qingtong and the others go? They said they wanted to take part in the end-of-year assessment to take revenge on Senior Shi and the others. Don't tell me he got scared and ran away. I don't know, I think so too. Otherwise, why haven't they appeared yet? Speaking of which, these students from the trash class are really disgusting. They hate Senior Shi and the others. It's fine if they slander them, but they actually want to cause trouble for them during the end-of-year exam. Do they really think that senior sisters are easy to talk to because they're afraid of them? Exactly. This group of people, not to mention that their strength was trash, even their people were trash. Let's go and find him. Let's have some fun. As the group of people talked, many of them ran toward the dormitory of the lower class. Chapter 628. Among those people, there were naturally people under her control. Luo Qingtong, are you afraid? You don't dare to come? Unfortunately, even if you don't dare to come, force me. I'll force you to come. Today is the day you die in the arena of the year-end assessment. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's slash at her in the secret realm of Kaiyuan, Shi Qingqing still felt a faint pain in her ribs. Not to mention that Luo Qingtong deliberately set her up and made her fight with Yuan Xue, completely losing face. This time, she would make Luo Qingtong pay her back with interest. She would make her kneel in the arena and beg for mercy with tears and snot running down her face. Then, when she was done admiring her, she would pretend to be careless and kill her directly. Thinking of such a scene, the viciousness in Shi Qingqing's eyes became more intense. Luo Qingtong, get out of here. In the dormitory area of the lower class, a group of people arrived noisily. They stood at the door of Luo Qingtong's dormitory and shouted, "Didn't you say you wanted to take revenge on Senior Shi and the others? Didn't you say you were going to participate in the end-of-year assessment? Get out of here. Don't be a coward in there. That's right. Get out of here, or don't blame us for being rude." Aya. Why are you talking so much to them? I think they're just scared. Let's go. Let's smash the door and drag them out. As the group of people spoke, someone immediately rushed up. Bang! Before those people could even touch the door, a burst of violent energy suddenly blasted out from the dormitory. In an instant, the few students of Tianyu branch who rushed up were sent flying. And those standing outside the dormitory who didn't have time to act were also sent flying while howling. Shi Qingqing and the others can't wait to die. Let's fulfill their wish. Little Overlord Yuan's loud voice rang out. In an instant, a group of people strode out from inside. Feeling the tyrannical strength emitted from their bodies. In an instant, the people lying on the ground and howling miserably were shocked. These were the people from the trash class? How did they become so strong? Especially Yuan Little Overlord, he actually sent them all flying without using the petrification soul seal. And Sima Ju, why was his aura so tyrannical? Even Su Xiaoxiao, who looked so delicate and weak and would cry at the slightest provocation, had such a fierce aura. And Ling Tianhan. Oh my god. Everyone looked at the long sword in Ling Tianhan's right hand in shock. His hand healed. Back then, his talent and strength were enough to compete with the fifth prince. He had only fallen silent because his right hand was crippled. Later on, he relied on his left hand to return to the top 10 of the genius ranking. Was he back again? Just as they were still in shock, da-da-da. The boots hit the ground, making a clear and loud sound. Luo Qingtong appeared in front of them. The young girl's fiery figure set off her surging aura, instantly causing the people lying on the ground to forget their miserable cries. Medium Martial King Realm. Luo Qingtong's aura was even more tyrannical than Shi Qingqing's. Who said that Luo Qingtong and the others were overestimating themselves by participating in the end-of-year assessment? Who said that they were seeking their own deaths? Stand out, we guarantee that we won't kill you. Damn, this aura, this strength, who was the ones seeking their own deaths? Everyone stared at Luo Qingtong, but the latter directly turned around and walked past them. Chapter 629. In the arena of Tianyu Branch, the top 10 of the year-end assessment had been decided. Shi Qingqing stood at the top and looked down at Zhang Haopeng and the others. The top 10 of this year's year-end assessment were basically all their people. The top 10 students on the genius ranking who had entered the Kai Yuan mystic realm with her and survived had all stabilized their positions. Only 2 dark horses from the elite class had suddenly appeared. They must have had other opportunities in the Kaiyuan's secret realm and had suddenly improved their strength by leaps and bounds. They had obtained the last 2 spots in the top 10. Looking at the people around her, Shi Qingqing's expression was elegant, but her eyes were full of pride. In the past, she had only been 7th on the genius list. Now, those who had been in the top 7 had to look up to her. The students of Tianyu Branch were all under her feet. Luo Qingtong, all of this was thanks to your sword. When you appear later, I will definitely treat you well. Haha. The saint has good taste. The top of this year's year-end assessment is definitely Shi Qingqing. Congratulations to the saint for obtaining such a good disciple. In the stands, seeing Shi Qingqing standing alone and aloof from the world and no one dared to challenge her, the dean and the instructors of Tianyu Branch all smiled and said to the saint from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. Don't mention it. This is all thanks to Tianyu Branch. It is rare for someone like Shi Qingqing to be able to rely on herself to awaken the soul's seal so perfectly. Her future will definitely be limitless. Branch Dean, we should share the same joy. The Saint Realm expert smiled faintly. Hearing this, the Dean of Tianyu Branch laughed as well. This is nothing. It's all thanks to the Kaiyuan's secret realm. The Dean of Tianyu Branch was very glad that he had shamelessly asked Song Qing to help him open the Kaiyuan's secret realm. Speaking of which, Song Qing had disappeared after the light door had been destroyed. He had said that he was going to the Kaiyuan's secret realm to find his precious disciple. Elder Song's disciple was among the people who had met with mishap in the Kaiyuan's secret realm. The dean was very uneasy. Could it be Ling Tianhan or Ling Yu? Only this pair of brother and sister could possibly gain Elder Song's appreciation. Especially since the Ling family had obtained such a great fortune recently. Perhaps it was all thanks to Elder Song. Otherwise, how would they know the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? Did he get involved with the Lanhua family again? The more the branch dean thought about it, the more convinced he became. Unfortunately, he could not contact Elder Song. Otherwise, he could tell him that Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu were fine. Old Man Lanhua and Old Duke Ling just smiled at each other when the Tianyu branch principal was talking to that Saint Realm expert. Shi Qingqing was considered powerful. That was because they had yet to see the girl who was even more stunning than her. Thinking of Luo Qingtong's strength, the 2 men's faces showed a mocking smile. Unless Luo Qingtong didn't appear, the first place in the year-end assessment would never fall on Shi Qingqing's head. On the arena, the instructor in charge of the assessment raised his voice and shouted, "Is there anyone else who wants to challenge?" The top 10 of the year-end assessment had been decided. If there was no one else who wanted to challenge, the 10 of them would be the new students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin. The surroundings were quiet. The instructor in charge of the assessment asked 3 times in a row. Chapter 630. Isn't there a group of students from the trash class who said they wanted to challenge Senior Shi and the others? That's right. Why don't I see them? They probably know that Senior Shi and the others are too strong, so they admitted defeat? Haha. They signed up but didn't dare to participate. Luo Qingtong and the others are really shameless. That's right. The trash from the lower class should just obediently stay in the trash can. Why are they jumping around for no reason? It's a good thing they didn't come. Otherwise, even if they died in the arena this time, I'm afraid they deserved it. If I were Senior Shi and the others, I definitely wouldn't show mercy. So that I won't have to see some trash jumping around in the future. The group of people all talked at once. Among them, of course, many were arranged by Shi Qingqing. Just as the group of people were talking enthusiastically, the crowd of students from the academy suddenly retreated like Moses parting the sea. Da-da-da. White exquisite boots stepped on the ground, making an extremely rhythmic sound. Crisp and resounding. The girl's peerlessly beautiful face, coupled with the fiery red clothes on her body, made her look like a peerless goddess slowly stepping out of the flames. Every step seemed to be stepping on the tip of everyone's heart. She shed off the ordinary look that she usually deliberately restrained, and showed off her own peerless beauty. At this moment, Luo Qingtong was so beautiful that it made people suffocate. In this world, only she could wear the red clothes on her body, making it 3 parts coquettish and 7 parts bewitching. The young girl's face was hard to describe. She led little Tyrant Yuan and the others out from the back of the academy's students. Her domineering and ostentatious aura, as well as her stunning and enchanting aura, caused people to unconsciously back away. Some people should be born to be the overlords of this world. There was no need for words to make people submit. Luo Qingtong. It's Luo Qingtong and the others. The students from Tianyu branch turned their heads one by one. When they saw Luo Qingtong and little Tyrant Yuan and the others behind her, they immediately widened their eyes and opened their mouths wide. Oh my God. That's Luo Qingtong and the others? Are they from the trash class? Not to mention anything else, why is Yuan little overlord's aura so much stronger? And that fairy-like youth beside him, who is he? Isn't that little bunny-like girl Su Xiaoxiao? I remember that she loved to cry and was timid and shy. How did she become? Everyone was surprised to see Su Xiaoxiao following Luo Qingtong with a shy and strong face. Between her fingers, there were many bottles of liquid medicine, which she spun in the air like she was showing off her skills. The auras of countless medicinal liquids fused together. This wasn't Su Xiaoxiao deliberately showing off. Instead, she was following the aura emitted by the top 10 students of the year-end assessment on the arena in front of her and began to mix the proportions of the medicinal liquid in her hands. She was analyzing what kind of medicinal liquid would be the best combination to deal with the opponent. As a combat pharmacist, Su Xiaoxiao naturally couldn't start preparing the medicinal liquid when she was on the stage. The other party wouldn't give her such a chance. What was even more shocking was yet to come. Look at Ling Tianhan. His right hand is healed. Oh my God. Zhan Haopeng and the others are in trouble. Ling Tianhan used to be a genius on par with the 5th prince, Yuan Mo. The person who said this was a senior student who knew of Ling Tianhan's past glory. The other freshmen also cried out. Chapter 631. Everyone's eyes widened. No one would have thought that Luo Qingtong's team, who were completely like trash in their eyes, would be so powerful. Looking at the strength displayed by the other party, they were not weaker than the top 10 of the year-end assessment. It was as if 2 teams with the strength of the top 10 of the year-end assessment had met on a narrow path. But what shocked them the most was Luo Qingtong's strength. Middle-level martial king realm. Looking at the strong and threatening aura lingering on Luo Qingtong's body. The degree of solidification and the surging aura indicated that the strength displayed by Luo Qingtong was not casually increased. She truly possessed the strength of this level of cultivation. My God! The surging aura was much more powerful than the aura emitted by Shi Qingqing. Everyone looked at Luo Qingtong, who was like a flame goddess leading her servants, and was deeply shocked by the strength displayed by the other party. One must know that Luo Qingtong had just entered Tianyu Branch Academy. They thought that her first-place qualification had been questioned and she had been assigned to the trash class. But now, looking at her strength and thinking about her first-place qualification being questioned, Shi Qingqing and the others' reasons for doubting her were laughable. The aura would not lie. Shi Qingqing and the others had indeed slandered Luo Qingtong and deliberately assigned her to the trash class. Everyone looked at the strength displayed by Luo Qingtong in shock. One by one, they focused their eyes on Shi Qingqing, Zhan Haopeng, and the others in the arena. At that time, they had solemnly vowed that there was a problem with Luo Qingtong's strength and her first-place qualification was undeserved, so she was assigned to the trash class. Now, looking at the other party's aura, which completely overpowered Shi Qingqing and the others, the latter's words before seemed to be teasing them. With Luo Qingtong's strength and speed of improvement, would there be a problem with her first-place qualification? This was simply a big joke. If that was the case, then Shi Qingqing and the others were the ones who had framed her. Then, could it be that Shi Qingqing and the others were also the ones who had tampered with them when they came for the year-end examination? Everyone thought back to the time when the news came out. Everyone in the academy was cursing Luo Qingtong and the others for overestimating their capabilities. Not only did they slander Shi Qingqing and the others, they even wanted to cause trouble in the end-of-the-year assessment. Looking at it now, who was the one slandering who? Who was the one who deliberately let Luo Qingtong and the others participate in the year-end assessment? Everyone looked at the stage and saw the shocked and regretful expressions on Shi Qingqing's and the others' faces. They felt that they had probably discovered the truth. Shi Qingqing and the others didn't know the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others. They deliberately set up Luo Qingtong and the others to participate in the year-end assessment. Originally, he thought that Luo Qingtong and the others were sheep that were easy to bully, but in the end, he found that they were all wolves with sharp teeth. Shi Qingqing and Zhan Haopeng's faces were indeed filled with shock. The increase in strength of Luo Qingtong, Little Overlord Yuan and the others was completely beyond their expectations. Especially Luo Qingtong's strength, mid-level Martial King Realm. Seeing that the other party's strength had completely suppressed the strength that she had just been proud of, Shi Qingqing's pride and arrogance that had just risen not long ago had all turned into embarrassment and embarrassment. Especially when Luo Qingtong and the others' strength was released. Her previous rumor that Luo Qingtong and the others overestimated their capabilities and wanted to participate in the year-end assessment had completely become a joke. With the strength of the other party and the others, they were naturally qualified to participate in the year-end assessment. Chapter 632. Shi Qingqing and the others previously said that Luo Qingtong and the others slandered them for wanting to harm them in the Kaiyuan Mystery Territory. Now it seems that there really is such a thing. That's right. Luo Qingtong and the others suddenly became so strong. They must have had a fortuitous encounter in the Kaiyuan Mystery Territory. Maybe Shi Qingqing and the others wanted to rob them and kill them. That's right. Do you remember? After Shi Qingqing and the others came out for a while, before Luo Qingtong and the others came out, the light door suddenly collapsed. Isn't this too much of a coincidence? The crowd whispered to each other. Previously, they didn't know the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others, so they naturally felt that Shi Qingqing and the others were right. But now, seeing the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others, they suddenly doubted what Shi Qingqing and the others said before. No matter how they looked at it, Shi Qingqing and the others had a motive to attack Luo Qingtong and the others. Moreover, the time when the light door collapsed was too coincidental. Why did it collapse before Luo Qingtong and the others came out? Shi Qingqing and the others were the last to come out. Who knew what they did to Luo Qingtong and the others in the Kaiyuan Mystery Territory? As the group of people spoke, they all looked at Shi Qingqing and the others who were on the battle ring. If this was really the case, Shi Qingqing and the others were really vicious. Not only did they want to kill Luo Qingtong and the others, but they also deliberately slandered them. Finally, they schemed against Luo Qingtong and the others to participate in the year-end assessment to deal with them. They wanted to kill Luo Qingtong and the others in the year-end assessment. The crowd was indescribably frightened. They looked at Shi Qingqing and the others as if they were looking at snakes and scorpions. Such people really didn't deserve to be the symbol of their Tianyu branch. They were vicious and unscrupulous. Heavens! This was simply terrifying. Shi Qingqing and the others were battered and exhausted by the gazes of the people around them. Especially Shi Qingqing, who just enjoyed the attention of the crowd and the envious gazes. At this moment, everyone was looking at her with contempt and disdain, causing her to grit her teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. Junior sister Luo, I didn't expect you to not die in the Kai Yuan mystic realm. Instead, you obtained such a fortuitous encounter and raised your strength to such a level. Shi Qingqing gritted her teeth. Looking at the aura of Luo Qingtong and the others, her heart was filled with jealousy and jealousy. However, even if that's the case, it can't hide the fact that you once attacked us in the Yuan opening secret realm and wanted to kill us. Shi Qingqing raised her head with a preemptive look on her face. She wanted to confuse the crowd and make them think that it was indeed Luo Qingtong who attacked them first, and that was why they attacked the other party. But in reality, they were the ones who wanted to kill little Overlord Yuan and the others first. That was why Luo Qingtong wanted to kill them. Since both of us have a grudge against each other, let's see who's the real deal in the year-end assessment. Luo Qingtong, this time, either you die or we die. Let's make a life and death bet, do you dare to accept? Shi Qingqing originally wanted to force Luo Qingtong and the others out and humiliate them. Then, she would pretend to be merciful and give Luo Qingtong and the others a chance to settle their grudge. Then, she would attack them in the arena and kill them. But now that Luo Qingtong and the others had become so strong, this plan was simply useless. And with the strength of Luo Qingtong and the others, the academy would definitely protect them and nurture them. Chapter 633. Except for Ling Tianhan, the rest of Luo Qingtong's group were all freshmen. Now they all had such strength. Especially Luo Qingtong, who had reached the intermediate martial king realm. If she was allowed to advance further in the future, even if she went to the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing did not care about anything else. She directly proposed a life and death duel with Luo Qingtong's group. She wanted to strangle Luo Qingtong's group here. She would not give them any chance to threaten her. Thinking of this, the viciousness in Shi Qingqing's eyes became more and more obvious. Her expression was very cold and severe. Nonsense. The dean of Tianyu branch and the others in the stands were stunned when they saw Luo Qingtong's group. Were they still the students of the trash class they thought they were? Especially Luo Qingtong, whose strength was terrifying. She was indeed a freshman with the strength of the intermediate martial king realm. With more training in the future, who knew how strong she would become? Under such circumstances, how could they allow Shi Qingqing to propose a life and death duel? Immediately, the dean of Tianyu branch slammed the table and stood up. The students of the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin also frowned slightly. In their opinion, Luo Qingtong's group and Shi Qingqing's group were all good seedlings. It was okay to fight to determine the winner, but it was too much to kill each other. At this moment, a voice suddenly rang out. I think it's okay. The competition of the academy is always a little less bloody. When these students leave the academy in the future, they will have to experience life and death battles outside. It's not too much to propose a life and death duel. The one who spoke was old Duke Ling. He looked at Luo Qingtong's group below the arena, especially his grandson's pair of intact hands. He was very excited. Seeing that Shi Qingqing was going to force Luo Qingtong to make a life and death duel, he immediately supported her without hesitation. Of course, he was not supporting Shi Qingqing, but Luo Qingtong. Competing with evil Dr. Ghost Eye in strength? Old Duke Ling, who had seen Luo Qingtong kill a new martial emperor from the royal family of Tianyu, didn't think that Luo Qingtong would lose. Even if the other party did not use his full strength, just half of his strength would be enough to kill Shi Qingqing, okay? The latter actually wanted to use this opportunity to eliminate the source of trouble. Who would be the one to be eliminated in the end? As for his two grandsons and granddaughters, they were by Luo Qingtong's side. How could the latter make them suffer? Moreover, Shi Qingqing and the others almost killed the two most outstanding grandsons of the Ling family in the Kai Yuan mystic realm. Old Duke Ling couldn't wait to get rid of them. The moment he said that, everyone from Tianyu branch was stunned. Old Duke Ling? Everyone was shocked. They didn't know why he would do this. After all, the two juniors of the Ling family were also there. He was too angry that Shi Qingqing and the others had tried to kill Ling Tianhan and Ling Yu. Or did he really believe that Luo Qingtong and the others would win? Just as everyone was shocked and the dean of Tianyu branch pulled a long face and was about to refuse, another voice came from old Duke Ling's side. Chapter 634. As soon as this voice was heard, everyone present was instantly stunned. Not for anything else, but because the person who spoke was none other than old Master Lanue, who was sitting beside Duke Ling. He actually agreed to the life and death duel between Shi Qingqing and Luo Qingtong. The headmaster of Tianyu branch swallowed the words he was about to say. He looked at Master Lanue, who seemed to be resting with his eyes closed, with an ugly expression. He didn't know what was going on. Even Master Lanue agreed to the life and death duel. What else could he say? The headmaster of Tianyu branch didn't care about Duke Ling. After all, although Duke Ling was related to the evil Dr. Ghost Eyes, he was just supported by Duke Ling. Their relationship might not be deep. But the Lanue family was different. Now that Master Lanue had spoken, the matter was settled instantly. Shi Qingqing didn't expect Master Lanue to speak. She had thought that the school would stop it. She also wanted to ask her teacher, an expert of the Saint Realm from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin, to help her suppress the people of Tianyu branch. But she didn't expect Master Lanue to speak, and the matter was settled directly. Could it be that Master Lanue also saw her potential, just like her teacher, so he spoke out to help her? Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's heart became even more confident. Luo Qingtong, so what if you are a medium martial king? You are still inferior to me. The trump card in my hand is beyond your imagination. Thinking of the 100 ghost streamer she got in the Kaiyuan mystery land, Shi Qingqing felt very proud and complacent. Luo Qingtong, do you dare to accept this? A life and death duel. You die, or I die. She looked at the girl standing under the arena with a mocking expression. If you don't dare to accept, you can choose to leave now. But you have to destroy your meridians, kneel 3 times and kowtow 9 times, and kneel all the way back to Dongli state. While kneeling, you have to shout that you are a bitch and that I have let down my senior brothers and senior sisters of Tianyu branch. From now on, you can't leave Dongli state, and you can't appear in front of us. Otherwise, you'll have to kneel down and kowtow, repenting for your previous attempt to kill us. The same goes for all of you. She looked coldly at little Overlord Yuan and the others behind Luo Qingtong. At this time, Shi Qingqing had completely shed her previous disguise of elegance, gentleness, and gracefulness, revealing her true colors. With the Lanue clan's old master and the Saint Realm expert from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin thinking highly of her, what did she have to be afraid of? Since someone had already seen through her intentions for the year-end assessment, then she would thoroughly reveal them. She wanted to use all means to force Luo Qingtong to agree to this life and death duel. Then, he would kill them one by one here. As for Luo Qingtong and the others, if they didn't dare to agree, that was fine too. He immediately left with his tail between his legs. From now on, his life would be ruined. F***ck. Hearing Shi Qingqing's words, little Overlord Yuan and the others instantly flew into a rage. Especially the words she said about Luo Qingtong. She actually wanted their boss to kneel down and kowtow to her, and even call her a bitch. Shi Qingqing was really looking for trouble. She was really tired of living. Boss, accept her. F***ck. I can't hold it in any longer. Torture her to death. A cold light flashed in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She looked at the proud and complacent Shi Qingqing in the arena, and her lips slowly curved into a bloodthirsty and cold smile, looking extremely evil. Okay. I accept. Life and death duel. Chapter 635. Good. Let's start. Are you all okay with it? Shi Qingqing looked at Zhang Haopeng and the others coldly. She believed that they would make a wise choice. They had a part to play in the assassination of Luo Qingtong and the others. If they didn't want to be avenged by Luo Qingtong and the others in the future, they should know that this was their only chance. Zhang Haopeng and the others naturally knew this, so when Shi Qingqing provoked Luo Qingtong and the others to accept the life and death duel, they didn't say anything. Luo Qingtong and the others were strong, but they were not weak either. Moreover, how long had they been cultivating in the school? How long had Luo Qingtong and the others been cultivating? Even if they had some opportunities in the Kaiyuan's secret realm and increased their strength, they might not be able to fully utilize their strength. With that thought in mind, everyone immediately nodded their heads. No problem, life and death duel it is. They had planned to kill Luo Qingtong and the others, but they didn't expect that Luo Qingtong and the others' strength had increased. But even so, the result would not change at all. Luo Qingtong and the others must die. Whoosh! They signed the life and death contract under the witness of everyone present. The people from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin felt that it was a pity, but after all, this was a matter of Tianyu branch. Moreover, the students from both sides were willing to fight to the death, so they naturally didn't say anything. They just focused on this fierce battle of life and death. Of course, their eyes were more focused on Luo Qingtong and Shi Qingqing. These two people were the best seedlings that they had seen in so many branches. Especially Luo Qingtong, who was at the medium martial king realm, her talent and strength were extremely amazing. It was said that she had entered Tianyu branch for less than half a year, but she already had such strength. Although the Kaiyuan secret realm contributed to this, if she didn't have outstanding talent, even if she was given an opportunity, she might not be able to take it. Luo Qingtong's power that had not dissipated was the proof. Her foundation was extremely solid. It meant that even if there was an opportunity, this promotion was real. There was not the slightest bit of loosening. On the other hand, Shi Qingqing's situation was slightly worse. The latter's strength was clearly inferior to Luo Qingtong. His aura was also much weaker. This meant that Shi Qingqing's strength was still somewhat unstable at the beginning. However, compared to most people, it was already very good. At least it was still solid. In comparison, Zhang Haopeng, who was beside her, was much worse. That loose aura was only the title of a martial emperor. Otherwise, against those students at the peak of the martial lord realm, he might not be able to get second place. Swish! The group of people signed the life and death agreement, and suddenly flew up to the arena. The top 10 of the year-end examination would be given 10 dueling rings. Whichever one of them wanted to challenge, they would be given the dueling ring. The last person left on the stage was the winner of the ranking. Shi Qingqing and the others had already decided on the top 10 of the year-end assessment. At this moment, they all went up to their respective arenas. Among the 10 arenas, only the last 2 students from the elite class who had suddenly appeared were not Shi Qingqing's people. They were not participating in this life and death battle. The other 8 people all went up the ring. Shi Qingqing was first, Zhang Haopeng was second, and so on. Chapter 636. The Ling family should have other disciples in the Tianyu Academy, right? Can you ask someone stronger to come over? She said to Ling Tianhan. She said that she would not let Shi Qingqing and the others get a chance to be in the top 10. Those who had harmed her, none of them should even think about running away. No problem. Ling Tianhan agreed immediately. Luo Qingtong must have said that to promote a disciple of the Ling family. He would not miss such a good opportunity. Boss, you're too biased towards the Ling family. Little brat Yuan muttered, why do you always think of them whenever something good happens? You should think of the Yuan family too. Before Luo Qingtong could say anything, Ling Yu pouted and said, "You have to think of the Yuan family first. You have to convince them to give you a disciple who is as strong and talented as the Ling family to sign the life and death agreement. If you can do it, the Ling family will give you the spot." Little brat Yuan shut up immediately after hearing Ling Yu's words. He did not have the ability to do so unless he exposed Luo Qingtong's identity. Therefore, the Ling family would definitely take advantage of this. Sigh, those short-sighted old men will regret it in the future. Little brat Yuan was depressed. When Luo Qingtong wanted to deal with the Tianyu royal family, he had told the Yuan family to stand on the Ling family's side. In the end, no one believed him except for his father. This time, the Ling family got the meat, but they did not even get the soup. They were drunk. Fortunately, with his relationship with his boss, the Yuan family was doing well in the imperial capital. At least they were not punished. Ling Tianhan quickly called the disciple of the Ling family over. The people in the top 100 of the genius list weren't weak either. They looked at Luo Qingtong with respect. Before he came, old Duke Ling had already reminded him repeatedly that he must listen to Luo Qingtong. Even if she asked him to die, he must not have any objections. Moreover, before they came, their family had already been directly promoted to a direct descendant. Therefore, that Ling family disciple's gaze towards Luo Qingtong was exceptionally respectful. Even if he had to sign a life and death agreement, he would not hesitate. Yes. Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded. She raised her hand and handed him a spiritual qi bomb and a weapon she obtained from the first place contest. Fight first. If you can't beat him, throw this out. Luo Qingtong said, letting Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Zhu give him some good stuff. The former would naturally give him all kinds of medicinal liquids, while the latter would give him poison. Holding these items, the Ling family disciple's face was filled with indescribable shock. Let's not talk about what Luo Qingtong gave him. Let's talk about what Su Xiaoxiao and Sima Zhu gave him. That Ling family disciple had never seen such strange and complicated medicinal liquids before. Moreover, according to Su Xiaoxiao, these medicinal liquids could be mixed together to form other medicinal liquids. And the poison that Sima Zhu gave him. He had never seen such a strong poison before. Furthermore, the poison that Sima Zhu gave him was reduced according to his strength. Otherwise, he might end up poisoning himself the moment he made a move. Oh my God. That Ling family disciple looked at the pile of items in his left hand and right hand. Suddenly, he was filled with sympathy for Shi Qingqing and the rest who were waiting for the life and death gambling match to start. They thought that Luo Qingtong and the rest were just slightly more powerful sheep. In reality, these people were terrifying wolves. Chapter 637. Luo Qingtong, how long are you going to dawdle down there? Shi Qingqing had a proud look on her face as she stood in the first arena. She was dressed in a white robe that was as white as snow, and there were dark clouds above her head. As she looked at Luo Qingtong, the light robe on her body slowly fluttered in the air. What's the hurry? Looking up at Shi Qingqing on the arena, Luo Qingtong had a faint smile on her face. If you're in a hurry to reincarnate. Don't worry, Zhan Haopeng and the others will be waiting for you. How could she let Shi Qingqing die so easily? Whoosh! Luo Qingtong jumped onto the arena. After her, little tyrant Yuan, Sima Zhu, Su Xiaoxiao, Ling Tianhan, Ling Yu, Chu Wenhao, and the Ling family disciple also jumped onto the arena. Senior brother Zhan, please give me your guidance. Ling Tianhan raised his sword with one hand and looked coldly at Zhan Hao on the opposite side of the arena. That was what Zhan Hao told him when he returned to the top 10 of the genius list with his left hand. Whoever was stronger would be the senior brother. He was once a genius who could compete with Yuan Mo, but after being crippled, he was nothing. Now, it was time for Zhan Haopeng to pay the price. And when Ling Tianhan raised his sword, little tyrant Yuan, Sima Zhu, Su Xiaoxiao, and the others also faced their respective opponents. Haha. I didn't expect Yuan to have the chance to fight for the top 10 in the year-end assessment. Looking at the lackey who listened to Shi Qingqing and Zhang Haopeng, little tyrant Yuan laughed loudly. Zhou Yuan. You almost pushed me into the dead soul's tide before. Now I'll let you know how to write the word death. Sima Zhu and Su Xiaoxiao didn't speak. One raised his hand, and the other clenched the medicinal liquid in her hand. I can do it. Su Xiaoxiao encouraged herself in her heart. She wanted to become Luo Qingtong's personal combat alchemist. She couldn't be abandoned by Luo Qingtong and the others. She wanted to kill those people and enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin with Luo Qingtong and the others. To prove that even if he was a piece of trash, he could still fly faster and higher. Ling Yu, Chu Wenhao, and that Ling family disciple also faced off against their respective enemies. Whoosh! On the first arena, Shi Qingqing sneered as she looked at Luo Qingtong's figure. She raised her hand and pulled out a soft sword from her belt. She pointed the sword at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong, you really boast shamelessly. She sneered as she looked at Luo Qingtong's mid-level martial king strength. Do you think you're stronger than me just because you're stronger than me? He's just a mid-level martial king. I don't care about it at all. You probably don't know that I've awakened a special soul seal. In my opinion, your mid-level martial king's strength is just a so-so. As she spoke, the aura around her body surged. In the next second, streams of black fog shrouded Shi Qingqing's figure. Her aura suddenly rose from the low-level martial king realm to the mid-level martial king realm. Whoosh! When Shi Qingqing's aura rose, the people in the spectator stands immediately let out cries of surprise. Look! Shi Qingqing's strength has risen. Oh my god, she's also a mid-level martial king realm expert. Not only that, do you see it? The black fog that lingered around her. Soul seal. It's the aura of the soul seal. She has a special soul seal. Chapter 638. Exclamations rang out one after another. The dean of the Tianyu branch and the students of the Empire of Qin were also stunned. They didn't expect Shi Qingqing to have awakened a special soul seal and become a soul king. If that was the case, then Luo Qingtong, a mid-level martial king, was in danger. After all, even if they were in the same realm, a soul master had an advantage over a martial artist. The ability of their soul seals was their greatest reliance. It was the difference between a martial artist and a martial artist. I'm afraid Luo Qingtong is going to lose. The instructors of the Tianyu branch shook their heads at this scene. Even the students of the Empire of Qin frowned slightly. Only the sage powerhouse who had accepted Shi Qingqing as a disciple remained calm on the surface. However, deep down, he was extremely pleased with himself. Shi Qingqing was a good seedling that he had unearthed. The more talented she was, the more shocked everyone was, and the more proud he would be. On the other hand, Elder Lanyue and Duke Ling were very calm. They weren't worried that something would happen to Luo Qingtong. Lose? How was that possible? If evil Dr. Gui Tong lost so easily, then the death of that martial emperor from Tianyu's royal family would be too unjust. No matter how strong Shi Qingqing was, she was only a soul king. How could she be compared to a martial emperor? The two of them were very calm. On the stage, Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows when she saw the black fog surrounding Shi Qingqing. The power of dead souls? Seeing that Shi Qingqing had the same power and aura as the dead souls in the Kaiyuan mystic realm, Luo Qingtong finally knew how Shi Qingqing and the others could survive the wave of dead souls even after being injured by her. Interesting. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with blood-red light. Through her eye technique, she could clearly see that the black fog around Shi Qingqing didn't belong to her. It came from something on Shi Qingqing's body. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and looked at Shi Qingqing. Her lips curled up. Something that contained the power of dead souls? Good. That's great. The item that Snowball used to transform was found. At this moment, Little Pig's voice rang in her ears. That Shi Qingqing definitely has a treasure that contains a large amount of soul power. Master, quickly torture her to death and snatch the item. After that little furball transforms, it will be even more powerful. It was obvious that little pig had also sensed the aura of the dead souls. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded. At this moment, Shi Qingqing had already brandished her sword and charged towards Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong, die. Relying on the death soul qi in the 100 ghost streamer, Shi Qingqing raised her strength to the level of a middle-level martial king. She confidently charged toward Luo Qingtong. 10,000 ghosts devouring heart. As she stabbed her sword, countless Yin soul qi suddenly rushed out from her attack. They opened their mouths and sharp teeth and bit towards Luo Qingtong. Shi Qingqing had absorbed a large amount of the death soul qi from the 100 ghost streamer. During the tide of the months of demons in the Kaiyuan secret realm, countless dead souls covered the sky and earth. With the help of the 100 ghost streamer, Shi Qingqing, Zhan Haopeng, and the others were able to break out of the encirclement and return to the light door alive after being injured by Luo Qingtong. After the death soul qi was absorbed, it was stored in the 100 ghost streamer. After Shi Qingqing activated the special soul seal of the Soul Devourer constitution, she relied on absorbing the power of these dead souls to increase her strength. Chapter 639. Luo Qingtong, go to hell. Shi Qingqing's face was cold. Luo Qingtong was too arrogant. She didn't show her real strength on purpose, so she thought that her real strength was at the inferior martial king realm. In fact, with the power of the 100 Ghosts banner, she could have reached the intermediate martial king realm. That idiot really thought that she was inferior to her. She even agreed to a life and death duel and wanted to kill her. She was just waiting to die here. When she died, she could step on her and enter the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin with glory. With the help and training of her teacher, the fifth prince would definitely see her in a new light. She would also become the only woman who was worthy of him. Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's expression became more ruthless, and the movement of her sword became more ferocious. Swoosh! The sword light, accompanied by the wails of thousands of ghosts, attacked Luo Qingtong. Just when everyone thought that Luo Qingtong's heart would be pierced by the sword, clang! Luo Qingtong unsheathed her wind and thunder sword. In an instant, the wind blew and thunder roared. Thousands of lightning bolts, like silver snakes, fell from the sky. Rumble! Bolts of lightning flew down from the sky. The sound of thunder was like the wrath of the gods, straight to the ninth heaven. Wind and thunder sword cut. The martial arts techniques of the martial emperor realm found from the martial emperor realm experts of the Tianyu imperial family came in handy at this moment. With this martial emperor realm weapon and the martial arts techniques of the martial emperor realm, Luo Qingtong's casual attack was comparable to that of an advanced martial king realm expert. In an instant, the howling Yin souls that were charging towards him began to shriek. The wails and howls really turned into wails and howls, and the miserable howls turned into real misery. Ah! Streaks of Yin soul qi were instantly obliterated by the power of thunder and lightning carried by the sword of wind and thunder. Shi Qingqing's sword strike, which carried the killing move of 10,000 howling ghosts, instantly turned into an ordinary sword strike. The Yin soul qi on the sword suddenly decreased. In the next second, the light became dim, and it became an attack that any middle-level martial king realm expert could launch. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent as she watched the sword coming towards her. Clang! Holding the sword in her right hand, she suddenly stretched out 2 fingers of her other hand and caught the sword in front of her. Looking at Shi Qingqing's shocked gaze, Luo Qingtong's lips curled up and she smiled at her. Demonic and domineering, peerless and alluring. The next second, bang! Luo Qingtong suddenly lifted her foot and kicked towards Shi Qingqing. Ah! Shi Qingqing screamed miserably as she was sent flying dozens of meters away by that kick. It slid across the ground of the arena and finally crashed heavily into a huge pillar at the edge of the arena. Boom! The pillar, which was thick enough for dozens of people to encircle it, was smashed into pieces in an instant. Shi Qingqing's body didn't stop. She continued to fly backward and hit the protective shield of the arena in midair. Then, she was heavily rebounded and smashed onto the ground. Puff! Shi Qingqing raised her head and spat out a mouthful of blood. She lay on the ground and kept howling in pain. Below his chest, there was an obvious depression. Chapter 640. Clang. Luo Qingtong twisted the 2 fingers on her left hand. In an instant, the soft sword was shattered into pieces by the powerful force from her fingertips. Clang, clang, clang. The broken pieces of the sword fell onto the floor of the arena, making crisp sounds. Luo Qingtong carelessly threw away the broken sword between her fingertips. She raised her eyes to look at Shi Qingqing, who was half sprawled on the ground and struggling to get up. Shi Qingqing, is this your so-called true strength? A Soul King expert with a special soul imprint? Luo Qingtong's lips held a faint smile. Her eyes, which seemed to be filled with a faint blood mist, looked at Shi Qingqing. Unfortunately, it's only so-so. As soon as these words came out, Shi Qingqing spat out another mouthful of blood. It wasn't for anything else. She had just said these words to Luo Qingtong before she made her move. Now, it was immediately thrown back at her. What could be more face-slapping than this? She had been so arrogant when facing Luo Qingtong just now, but now, her face had been slapped so miserably. Shi Qingqing thought of how proud she was before she made her move. She thought that after her scheme had succeeded, Luo Qingtong would definitely die. She only felt the blood in her body rushing to her brain. Embarrassment, regret, embarrassment, humiliation. She had thought that Luo Qingtong was an idiot. Now, it seemed that who was the real idiot? Thinking of this, Shi Qingqing's heart was humiliated to the extreme. With a puff, she raised her head and spat out another mouthful of blood. Her face was deathly pale as she looked at the evil, awe-inspiring, and enchanting girl in front of her. How could this be? How could things turn out like this? It shouldn't be like this. The one who should be standing there and enjoying the attention of everyone should be her. She should be the strongest and number 1 in the year-end assessment. She should be the one who had trampled Luo Qingtong under her feet. She shouldn't be like this now, being sent flying by Luo Qingtong's kick and lying on the ground like a dead dog. Shi Qingqing thought as she clenched her fists tightly. His 5 fingers were like the sharpest blades as they ruthlessly pierced into his palm, causing blood to flow out. Meanwhile, the audience was already in an uproar. Bang bang bang. Everyone was shocked when they saw Luo Qingtong break Shi Qingqing's killing move with one move, and at the same time, send her flying with a kick. She smashed into the ground like a dead dog. Apart from old Duke Ling and old Master Lanhua, who had long had a premonition, everyone else widened their eyes in shock as they looked at the scene in arena number 1. Oh my God. On the spectator stand, the chairs of the Tianyu Branch Academy collapsed. The group of people crawled up from the ground, battered and exhausted. They looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. The head of the Tianyu Branch School roared. You bastards. You guys actually don't know such a powerful student. She even allowed others to assign her to the trash class. Do you know what her talent represents? If she was in the elite class, she might be even stronger. A bunch of bastards. The head of the Tianyu Branch School bulged his eyes. He couldn't wait to rush up and choke the hearts of the instructors of the Tianyu Branch Academy. Especially the instructors of the elite class. They should just die. They actually didn't know such a student and let Luo Qingtong be assigned to the trash class. Such a waste of such a good talent. If she had been nurtured in the elite class earlier, coupled with the experience in the Kaiyuan's secret realm, Luo Qingtong's strength might be even stronger than the current intermediate Martial King realm. Chapter 641. Bang! At the end of his tirade, the dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy couldn't take it anymore. His aura exploded and sent a group of instructors from the Tianyu Branch Academy flying. Who asked them to be blind? Who asked them to look down on others? He had almost ruined such a good seedling. Compared to Luo Qingtong, Shi Qingqing was nothing. A bunch of bastards. They only knew how to look down on others. If Luo Qingtong had any complaints about the academy, he would skin them alive. Just as the dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy was enraged, the saint from the Empire of Qin Saint Academy had an ugly expression on his face. Shi Qingqing had been so arrogant before, but she had been sent flying with one move. He had been so proud of this new disciple of his, but now he was embarrassed. A soul king couldn't even defeat a martial king. It was truly humiliating to the extreme. This Shi Qingqing was simply too trashy. He was simply a pile of mud that couldn't support a wall. Even if she had obtained such a good opportunity in the secret realm of Kaiyuan, it was useless. Just as the sage realm expert was feeling indescribably embarrassed, boom. At the place where Shi Qingqing was, black fog suddenly rose up. Luo Qingtong, you deserve to die. Shi Qingqing's eyes were bloodshot. She looked at Luo Qingtong coldly and resentfully. With a swoosh, she flew up from the ground. She didn't know when the wound on her body caused by Luo Qingtong's kick had healed. Whoosh! Shi Qingqing waved her hand, and a black banner appeared beside her. As the black banner appeared, countless black auras emerged from it. They surrounded her and entered her body. Boom, boom, boom. As the black auras entered Shi Qingqing's body, her aura surged. Her aura rose rapidly and reached the level of the advanced martial emperor realm in just a split second. The eyes of the saint stage powerhouse on the spectator stand widened when he saw the black banner. He could vaguely sense the aura of a saint realm expert from the black banner. This black banner was actually a saint realm treasure? Shi Qingqing actually had such a good item on her. No wonder her strength increased so quickly. He had even activated such a special soul seal. A greedy look appeared in the eyes of the sage powerhouse when he saw the black banner. At the same time, Luo Qingtong also sensed that the treasure she had seen through her pupil technique that had enhanced Shi Qingqing's aura was this black banner. A saint realm treasure. Haha. Little Pig's voice rang in her mind. I didn't expect Shi Qingqing's luck to be so good. He actually picked up such a Yin's soul magic tool in the secret realm of Kaiyuan. This is great. The soul power aura inside definitely wouldn't be weak. It was perfect for that little furball to use as a foundation for its transformation. Master, your luck is here. This saint weapon is damaged, and it's also a Yin's soul magic tool. It's perfect for that little furball. Little Pig jabbered in Luo Qingtong's mind. Hurry up and keep it. I know. Luo Qingtong's voice was indifferent. She had locked onto the 100 Ghosts banner the moment it appeared. The latter's aura was indeed very powerful. Through Shi Qingqing, she could enhance her strength. She could release some of her power. Chapter 642. Luo Qingtong, die. Shi Qingqing's eyes turned red. She sacrificed her own life to drive the 100 Ghost banner to greater power. When Shi Qingqing got the 100 Ghost banner, she knew that it was very powerful and evil at the same time. She had been slowly comprehending and absorbing the power in it, and she didn't dare to use the blood sacrifice. Now, in order to kill Luo Qingtong, she didn't care anymore. In this life and death battle, either she or Luo Qingtong would die. Luo Qingtong was much stronger than her. She could only expose this 100 Ghost banner. Fortunately, she had already recognized a sage realm expert as her teacher. As long as she killed Luo Qingtong and gave the 100 Ghost banner to her teacher for protection, she could still live a comfortable life in the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Luo Qingtong, wait for your death. In an instant, Shi Qingqing's figure flew up. At the same time, she waved the black banner in her hand. King of Ghosts, come out. Following her fierce shout. Suddenly, waves of ferocious ghosts cried and howled from the black banner. In the next second, waves of ferocious ghosts rushed out from it. Just like the sword that Shi Qingqing used before. But this time, the difference was that after those ferocious ghosts rushed out, they didn't rush towards Luo Qingtong. Instead, they surrounded Shi Qingqing and kept howling. In the next second, those ferocious ghosts rushed out from the 100-ghost banner and merged together. They had fused together. Countless ferocious ghosts entangled with each other and combined to form an incomparably huge king of ghosts. Countless ferocious ghosts on its body howled sharply. In the next second, the king of ghosts, like a small mountain, rushed towards Luo Qingtong. The strength of the Emperor Realm. This huge king formed by countless ferocious ghosts had vaguely reached the martial Emperor Realm. The king of ghosts rushed towards Luo Qingtong while howling sharply. Everyone below the stage let out a series of exclamations. Martial Emperor Realm. Oh no. This time, Luo Qingtong was dead for sure. On the viewing platform, the Tianyu Academy's headmaster was hopping mad at this scene. Stop. Stop. The life and death gambling match this time is cancelled. Quick. Remove the protection on the stage and pull them apart. How could the dean of the Tianyu branch let Luo Qingtong die? He immediately rushed out while stamping his feet. The instructors of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin also prepared to join the fight. However, at this moment, the Saint Realm expert from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin made his move. Life and death gambling match. Life and death are up to fate. His aura suppressed everyone present. Shi Qingqing and Luo Qingtong have already signed the life and death agreement. Don't interfere. His attitude was unyielding. Because just a moment ago, he received a voice transmission from Shi Qingqing, saying that she would give the black banner to him later. As long as he stopped the Tianyu Branch Academy head and the others, he would be able to stop them. Saint Meng. Everyone from the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin was stunned. They didn't expect that the Saint Realm expert would participate in this matter and was obviously on Shi Qingqing's side. The dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy was so anxious that he almost fainted. Luo Qingtong's talent and strength were clearly stronger than Shi Qingqing's. If she entered the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, she would be another heaven-grade freshman. Was she going to die here? Just as the dean of the Tianyu Branch Academy was extremely anxious, the king of ghosts rushed in front of Luo Qingtong and attacked her with a shrill cry. At the same time, Shi Qingqing sneered and followed behind the king of ghosts. She took out another weapon and stabbed it at Luo Qingtong. Chapter 643. Luo Qingtong's eyes lit up when she saw the sword light and the king of 10,000 ghosts charging at her. The next second, the tempest sword in her hand moved. Heaven-conquering art, seize heaven's fortune. Swoosh. Luo Qingtong swung the sword move that Yi Qianxian had taught her. She didn't know the level and power of the sword move. Although she didn't use the life and death sword, the power of this move was reduced. But it was enough to deal with the king of 10,000 ghosts that had only vaguely reached the martial emperor realm and Shi Qingqing, who had forcibly advanced to the martial king realm. Boom! Following Luo Qingtong's sword move, in an instant, there was only this extremely bright light under the sky. The screams of the ghosts and the sound of the sword light piercing through the air echoed. Under the illumination of the sword light, the rolling black aura rolled into black and white waves. The next second, screech. A sharp shriek pierced through the sky. Under the shocked gazes of countless people, the tempest sword in Luo Qingtong's hand was like a sword of extinction wielded by the way of heaven. It was like the dawn of the sky as it ruthlessly slashed at the king of 10,000 ghosts in front of her. Amidst the screams of the king of 10,000 ghosts, it was suddenly split in half. The ghosts that formed the king of 10,000 ghosts were all smashed into ashes. The sword light didn't dissipate. After splitting the king of 10,000 ghosts in half, it swept across again and heavily hit Shi Qingqing, who was hiding behind the king of 10,000 ghosts and waiting to kill Luo Qingtong. No! Seeing the sword light flying over, the light in Shi Qingqing's eyes was shocked to the extreme. She hurriedly waved the 100-ghost banner in her hand to block it. However, just as the 100-ghost banner was about to hit the sword light, the bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes turned cold. Under the cover of the sword light, he rushed in front of Shi Qingqing and summoned the life and death sword. Holding it in his hand, he fiercely slashed at the 100 Ghost streamer. From the very beginning, Luo Qingtong's goal was this 100 Ghosts banner. She could tell that Shi Qingqing's ability was completely bestowed by this 100 Ghosts banner. The latter was the one who was truly going against her. A saint artifact had a spirit. Although this 100 Ghosts banner was damaged, it was still able to bestow all kinds of powers to Shi Qing and even accept Shi Qingqing's sacrifice. It was clear that its intelligence had not been lost. Luo Qingtong wanted to capture it in one fell swoop, not giving it any chance to escape. Whoosh! Death Blade activated. The Yin Soul's most frightening power, the most evil power of death in the world, was activated at this moment. Luo Qingtong waved the life and death sword in her hand, and a black sickle-like light flashed across the sky. That light mixed with the sword light she had sent out with the wind and thunder sword, and no one could see any clues. It directly slashed out and fiercely chopped at the 100 Ghost banner. Buzz! When Luo Qingtong pulled out the life and death Yin Yang sword and transformed it into the death blade, the 100 Ghost gonfalon started vibrating violently. Its damaged consciousness could vaguely sense the huge and terrifying threat that the death blade brought to it. This was the power of death that was even stronger, darker, and more terrifying than it was. Buzz! It trembled violently, wanting to fly out of Shi Qingqing's hand. But it was too late. Chapter 644. The black sword light struck its body. In an instant, the 100 Ghost banner let out a mournful cry like that of a resentful spirit. The rapidly surging power around it instantly dimmed. Suppression. The death blade carried a terrifying power of death, completely suppressing the 100 Ghost banner. Ah! As Luo Qingtong's sword struck the 100 Ghost banner, Shi Qingqing's body was also hit by the terrifying sword light that flew over. Without the 100 Ghost banner's protection, her little bit of high-level martial king's strength could not withstand a single blow from Luo Qingtong's heaven-conquering art. The words, Luo Qingtong, go to hell, seemed to still resound in the air. In the next second, Shi Qingqing's body had already been split into two by the sword light flying over. Not only that, a transparent soul was instantly extracted from her broken body. It screamed miserably as it was thrown into the 100 Ghost banner. How could this Yin Spirit Dharma artifact be so easy to control? Shi Qingqing's strength was insufficient. She had sacrificed her lifespan. Now that she had died, she was immediately devoured by the 100 Ghost banner. Her soul was extracted and absorbed into the 100 Ghost banner to be refined. Ah! Shi Qingqing's soul's screams echoed in the sky in an endless stream. Her body was sucked into the 100 Ghost streamer, and the countless resentful souls and malicious ghosts hidden within instantly swarmed forward, opening their mouths wide as they tried to bite her. In an instant, her body was covered by the vengeful spirits and malicious ghosts that swarmed over. 10,000 ghosts devouring the heart. This was the true 10,000 ghosts devouring the heart. Once Shi Qingqing's soul was completely devoured, she would become a new Yin spirit controlled by the 100 Ghost banner. Previously, Shi Qingqing had wanted to refine Luo Qingtong's soul. Now, she had become the one whose soul was being refined. She would be imprisoned in the 100 Ghost banner and lose her consciousness. She would never be reincarnated. Buzz! When Shi Qingqing's screams disappeared, Luo Qingtong also raised her hand to grab the 100 Ghost banner that had been completely suppressed by the death blade. Feeling the terrifying aura of life and death on her body, the 100 Ghost banner trembled violently. It wanted to struggle and fly away, but it was powerless. It could only struggle and tremble in that buzzing wail. Just as Luo Qingtong killed Shi Qingqing. Bang! 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 The other arenas also emitted bursts of violent attacks one after another. Then, a series of screams rang out. Everyone looked over and their eyes widened in shock. The ones lying on the ground were those who were lying on the ground. From Zhang Haopeng all the way down, everyone was lying on the ground miserably. Then, their bodies convulsed and died. The trash class team led by Luo Qingtong won a complete victory. Everyone's eyes widened. Apart from Ling Tianhan Yuan, Little Tyrant Yuan, Sima Ju, and Su Xiao were all students of the trash class. People who were determined to have no future actually won just like that? Everyone was indescribably shocked. At this moment, a cold voice suddenly rang out from the spectator stand opposite them. Return that 100 ghosts banner to this saint. In the front stands, the sage state expert from the Saint Academy of the Empire of Qin had a very ugly expression. Shi Qingqing was dead, and the 100 ghost banner fell into Luo Qingtong's hands. Seeing that the latter was about to put it away, he couldn't hold back anymore. Chapter 645. That 100 ghost streamer was bestowed to Shi Qingqing by this saint. She is this saint's disciple in name. Luo Qingtong, even if you defeat Shi Qingqing, you have to return that 100 ghost streamer to this saint. As he spoke, he raised his hand and was about to take the 100 ghost streamer into his hand. Luo Qingtong had just grasped the 100 ghost streamer in her hand and was about to put it into the 9-story exquisite pagoda for Snowball's transformation. Hearing this, a bloody light flashed in her eyes, and she took a step back in an instant, just in time to avoid the suction force. Whoosh! She put away the 100 ghost streamer with a flip of her hand. Then, with a faint, cold smile on her lips, she looked at the Saint Realm expert whose expression changed abruptly and said leisurely, "My apologies, Saint. Even if this 100 ghost streamer was yours, it is now my spoils of war." In a life and death gambling match, life and death are determined by the heavens. As the dead, everything is at the disposal of the winner. Since Saint gave Shi Qingqing this 100 ghost streamer, you should have been prepared for this. Luo Qingtong's words were merciless. She didn't care whether this thing was an opportunity that Shi Qingqing had obtained in the Kaiyuan mystic realm or if it really belonged to this saint. Now that it was in her hands, it was hers. The enormous soul power in the 100 ghost streamer was very beneficial to Snowball's transformation. Of course, Luo Qingtong wouldn't let it go. Furthermore, Luo Qingtong's expression was cynical. This Saint Realm expert didn't have any interaction with Shi Qingqing before. How could he give a Saint Realm treasure to a disciple in name? Did he take her for a fool? If he really valued Shi Qingqing so much, why would he only take her as a disciple in name? He was just looking for an excuse to snatch this 100 ghost streamer. Others couldn't sense the faint Saint Realm aura on it, but this Saint Realm expert should be able to sense it. Was he relying on his powerful strength to shamelessly snatch it from him? As soon as Luo Qingtong spoke, the Saint Realm expert's expression changed instantly. He had shamelessly asked for the 100 ghost streamer, but he didn't expect Luo Qingtong to refuse. She was just a little student. What qualifications and strength did she have to refuse him? He immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation. He said, "The life and death gambling match is between you and Shi Qingqing. Since this saint gave it to her, this saint will naturally take it back. Luo Qingtong, I didn't expect you have such a greedy person. This 100 ghosts banner is not something you should have. Give it back it." As he spoke, his aura, qi. The aura of the Saint Realm was like waves and tides, pressing towards Luo Qingtong. This sage realm expert is too shameless. Little Pig jumped up and down in Luo Qingtong's sleeve. "You don't deserve the 100 ghost streamer, do you?" He was the one who wanted the 100 ghost streamer and tried to snatch it. "How dare he say you're greedy? Damn it. Master, let's attack together." Little Pig was about to jump out of Luo Qingtong's sleeve as he spoke. At this moment, bang! A figure suddenly appeared in front of the Saint Realm expert, blocking the qi that was gathering around him and heading towards Luo Qingtong. "Saint Meng, you've gone too far. Suppressing a junior is not befitting of your status as a Saint Realm expert." Chapter 646. Old Master Lanyue. Everyone was stunned when they saw the person standing in front of Saint Meng. They didn't expect old Master Lanhua to go against Saint Meng. The people from the Empire of Qin Academy and the Dean of the Tianyu Academy also came to their senses. Saint, why do you have to be so calculative with a junior? The instructor from the Empire of Qin Academy said with a frown. Luo Qingtong's talent and strength were really powerful. She had won the life and death bet, so she deserved to get the spoils. Saint Meng was a dignified saint. Why would he be calculative with a junior? Could it be that he was angry that Luo Qingtong killed Shi Qingqing, so he deliberately found an excuse to attack her? Since he was thinking this, the others were naturally thinking the same thing. They immediately tried to persuade the Saint Realm expert. However, the Saint Realm expert was determined to get the 100 Ghost streamer and ignored their persuasion. Old Master Lanhua, I respect your family's heritage. This matter has nothing to do with your family. It was Luo Qingtong who provoked me. Ask her to return the 100 Ghost streamer to me, and I'll pretend this never happened. Otherwise. His eyes were fierce. Impossible. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Not to mention that she had a use for the 100 Ghost streamer. Even if she didn't, she wouldn't give in to the other party's oppression. Luo Qingtong hated it when people used force to oppress her. In her previous life, those who had been conceited and powerful and hunted her down had all died in the end. This Saint Realm expert could give it a try. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes intensified. The Saint Realm expert was enraged. You see, it's Luo Qingtong who doesn't know what's good for her. Old Master Lanhua, get out of the way. Today, I won't give face to anyone. As he spoke, he suddenly waved his sleeve. Boom! A majestic and boundless power swept out from his hand in an instant. The spiritual qi in the surroundings seemed to have been frozen solid. Elder Lanhua's figure was forced to move away. He was furious when he saw the power attack blasting toward Luo Qingtong. Saint Meng. Stop it. Touching Luo Qingtong is the same as touching our Lanhua family. If you dare to make a move, we won't let you off. Saint Meng's expression changed when he heard the old man's words. But soon, his expression returned to normal. Elder Lanhua, don't try to scare me with these words. He sneered. He's just a mere student. How could your Lanhua family make a move? I know you might be unhappy with my actions, but I must obtain this 100 Ghost streamer. And this student who doesn't know what's good for him, he must be taught a good lesson. Otherwise, she wouldn't know that in this world, the strong are respected. She has no right to say anything in front of me. She dared to talk back to me and even tried to steal my item. She deserves to be taught a lesson. As he spoke, the power attack was like a huge wave. It was vast and boundless, as though it had activated countless spirit qi. It rushed towards Luo Qingtong like a huge wave. The space around her was also rapidly compressed under the effect of this power attack, trying to imprison Luo Qingtong within it. A Saint Realm expert comprehended the laws of heaven and earth and could control the spiritual qi around him for his own use. Luo Qingtong could feel that all the spiritual qi around her was being sucked dry. Chapter 647. The blood-red light in Luo Qingtong's eyes had reached its peak. She activated the pupil technique in her eyes, clenched her fists, and raised her hand to summon the life and death dual right sword. At the same time, Little Pig dashed out of her sleeve and appeared in front of her. Suddenly, an extremely dazzling light burst out from the tiny pink body. A six-pointed star pattern appeared on his smooth little butt. It was spinning rapidly and was about to open. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from afar. How dare you! The voice was filled with anger, and it was as loud as thunder. With a boom, the Sage Realm expert's attack, which was about to reach Luo Qingtong, was shattered into pieces. At the same time, the spiritual aura that was rushing toward Luo Qingtong to imprison her instantly lost control and returned to its previous docile state. Swoosh! A figure appeared in front of Luo Qingtong in a hurry. He waved his long sleeves and glared at the Sage Realm expert on the spectator stand. Bastard. I'd like to see who dares to touch my precious disciple. Song Cheng's face was filled with unspeakable anger. When he heard that something had happened to Luo Qingtong, he rushed into the Kaiyuan's secret realm in a hurry. However, he couldn't find any trace of Luo Qingtong. Instead, he found a trace of the light door with the help of the inscription aura. After that, he used a Herculean effort to get out of there. Before he could inquire about Luo Qingtong's whereabouts, he sensed the commotion over here. When he sensed that someone was targeting Luo Qingtong's aura, and that person was a Sage Realm expert, how could Song Qing tolerate it? This person is 2F** King Shameless. What's the cultivation of my precious disciple? What's the cultivation of the Sage Realm? How dare this person attack my disciple? Song Qing, who regarded Luo Qingtong as his life, went berserk. He couldn't care less about hiding his strength and attacked immediately. Who are you? After his attack was repelled, Saint Meng's expression turned ugly. Today, he had gotten off to a bad start. Every time he tried to deal with a student of the branch school, he was blocked again and again. It was simply intolerable. This is an internal matter of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Please don't interfere. Sensing the aura in Song Cheng's body, Saint Meng suppressed his anger and said coldly. As for Song Cheng saying that Luo Qingtong was his precious disciple, he didn't believe it at all. If Luo Qingtong could really become the disciple of a Saint Realm expert, would she still need to stay in Tianyu Branch Academy? And I heard that she was assigned to the trash class. Even if it was Shi Qingqing and the others who made things difficult for her, it also meant that Luo Qingtong had no backing. Then, this Saint Realm expert definitely couldn't be her master. Could it be that the other party had also sensed the aura of the 100 Ghost banner and had come to fight for it? As he thought about this, Saint Meng glared at Song Qing coldly. On the other hand, the people of Tianyu Branch Academy were stunned when they saw Song Qing. Oh my god. A student of Tianyu Branch Academy said as if he was sleepwalking. Am I hallucinating? Why do I feel that this Saint Realm old man is instructor Song Qing from the trash class? Another student beside him said, what do you mean by similar? He is. Oh my god. Instructor Song Qing from the trash class is actually a Saint Realm expert. The group of people stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They felt that the scene in front of them was even more fantastical than a fantasy. Needless to say, the instructors of Tianyu Branch Academy were even more shocked. Chapter 648. When they thought of how they had secretly mocked him for having a mental problem, their hearts collapsed. If they had known he was a Sage Realm expert, they would never have dared to do that. However, Luo Qingtong actually thought so for Song Qing. Especially the Dean of Tianyu Academy, Elder Lanyue, and the others, their expressions eased. Humph. As I said, she's my precious disciple. Naturally, I should take care of her matters. Song Qing snorted coldly. Then, he turned to Luo Qingtong and said, my good disciple, are you all right? Don't worry. With your master here, I guarantee that no one will hurt you. Song Qing patted his chest loudly. Luo Qingtong withdrew her power when he appeared. Little Pig also landed on the ground. Your cheat master is not bad, he said in Luo Qingtong's mind. Yes. Luo Qingtong nodded. Her eyes flickered as she looked at Song Qing. Luo Qingtong had never regarded Song Qing as her real master. She had only learned inscriptions from him for what they both needed. She never expected that he would come out to protect her. Looking at Song Qing's posture, which was like a mother hen protecting her chick, Luo Qingtong had a subtle feeling in her heart. At this moment, Saint Meng's voice sounded. Humph. Shameless boasting. He looked at Song Qing coldly. The other party was definitely here for the 100 Ghost streamer. Since that was the case, he would not be polite. He must get the 100 Ghost streamer. No matter what, he could not let others get away with it. Thinking of this, his expression suddenly turned cold. The aura around him suddenly rose. In the next second, Boom! The aura around him surged. A force even more powerful than the one he used on Luo Qingtong suddenly erupted from his body. Like a tidal wave, it rumbled and blasted toward Luo Qingtong. Obviously, he did not care about Luo Qingtong's life or death. As long as he could get the 100 ghost streamer, everything would be fine. Seeing his attack, Song Cheng was instantly enraged. Bastard! He wanted his precious disciple to die. This Saint Realm expert was too shameless. Did he really think that he was powerful just because he was from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? Today, he would let him know that there was always someone better than him. With that thought in mind, the aura around Song Cheng suddenly exploded. At that instant, a formidable force burst out from his body. Both the quantity and the quality of the force were superior to Saint Meng's. Humph! How dare you be so impudent in front of me with such petty tricks? You don't have the ability to hurt my disciple. Song Cheng had a mocking expression on his face. In the next second, as Saint Meng's expression changed abruptly, he released the aura around him with a boom. Spirit Qi Plunder. The surrounding spiritual energy that was originally under Saint Meng's control and was crushing towards Luo Qingtong and him were all taken back by Song Cheng. Rumble. He controlled the aura of the spirit Qi and sent it crashing towards Saint Meng. Bang bang bang. A burst of explosive sounds suddenly came from the sky. The aura of the two sides collided fiercely in the air. Everyone around, except for Luo Qingtong, was shaken by the terrifying shockwaves of the explosion. The might of a Saint Realm expert was truly terrifying. Your cheat master is very powerful. Little Pig was astonished by the power of Song Cheng's attack. He nestled in Luo Qingtong's arms obediently and said, "Look at his strength. He will soon surpass the Saint Realm. That shameless Saint Meng is no match for him." Little Pig couldn't understand. Why would such a powerful Saint Realm expert want to study inscriptions? Moreover, his talent in inscriptions was so poor, yet he still wanted to study inscriptions in Tianyu branch. Little Pig was speechless. Didn't he know that every field had its own specialization? Did he think that everyone was as abnormal as Luo Qingtong? Chapter 649. Boom! Saint Meng's attack had been destroyed by Song Cheng. In the next second, his body was heavily hit by the attack. With a bang, he tumbled out. Instantly, his limbs were sprawled out, and he smashed hard on the ground with his face facing the sky. In an instant, dust flew everywhere. His bun was messed up. Just like that, his hair was disheveled, and he fell on the ground. His face was full of dust. 2 of his teeth were knocked out, and his mouth was full of blood. Pfft! Haha! Seeing Saint Meng fall like that, little Tyrant Yuan and the others couldn't help but laugh loudly. Serves him right. Who asked him to rely on his own strength to attack their boss? He didn't die from the fall. TSK, if only he had a pile of dog poop in his mouth at this time. Little Tyrant Yuan was overjoyed. Just as he said that, he heard Sima Ju say with an indifferent expression, "I just saw Su Xiao throw something over." The latter was stared at by them, and immediately pinched the corner of his eyes with an embarrassed expression. "That dog poop smell isn't very good. I just threw a medicinal liquid with the smell of cow poop over." Pfft. Little Tyrant Yuan and the others couldn't help but laugh again. Ling Yu gave Su Xiao a thumbs up and said, "Well done. Xiao. Next time, give me some too." This was simply disgusting, a must-have for home travel. Xiao was really a treasure. Who said that she was a trash alchemist? They were simply blind. Their boss's ability to teach people was really first class. The group of them couldn't help but laugh here. On the other side, Saint Meng was about to go crazy from anger. Just as he fell, he suddenly felt something in his mouth. Then, a liquid flowed out, filling his mouth. That strange smell was simply so disgusting that he wanted to vomit. Even his own aura couldn't wash it clean. Bastard! It must be that Saint Realm expert who appeared out of nowhere. Saint Meng, who was humiliated, instantly had his eyes turn red. You're all courting death. He suddenly got up from the ground and looked at Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng with red eyes. No matter what the relationship between these two people was, they could forget about leaving this place alive. In the name of the Saint of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin, I summon the defensive formation. Listen to my orders. Rise. He took out a token from his bosom, and suddenly stretched it out in front of him. Rumble. Following the appearance of the token. Suddenly, rays of light appeared on the historical tablet of the Academy. In the blink of an eye, the entire Tianyu Branch Academy lit up with the light of formations. Those rays of light instantly enveloped the entire Tianyu Branch like a spiderweb, enveloping the entire Tianyu Branch in a huge formation filled with a piercingly cold and tyrannical aura. A Saint Stage Array. F***CK. This Meng Sheng is the scum of the Saint Realm. When Song Cheng saw this scene, he was so angry that his beard stood on end. Using Tianyu Branch's formation just because he can't win? How shameless of him. How could the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin let such a person enter? F***CKU. Song Cheng couldn't help but curse. He waved his long sleeves and pulled Luo Qingtong to his side. My good disciple, don't be afraid. I'll bring you out even if I have to risk my life. When the time comes, we'll kill our way to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin and settle accounts with this bastard. Luo Qingtong's eyes flashed with blood-red light. Her face was cold and her gorgeous face was filled with a bloodthirsty and cold aura. Chapter 650. No one had ever tried to kill her time and time again without paying the price. This Meng Sheng was courting death. If Song Cheng wasn't here, Luo Qingtong would have escaped with Little Pig when Meng Sheng attacked. However, since Meng Sheng was here, Luo Qingtong felt that she would be disgracing the name of Evil Eye if she didn't torture Meng Sheng to death. Master, do you believe me? Luo Qingtong looked at Song Cheng. The latter was stunned for a moment before he became wild with joy. My good disciple, you finally acknowledged me as your master. His eyes were brimming with tears. It wasn't easy. **T. He had pestered her for so long and even disregarded his reputation as a Sage Realm expert. However, he still couldn't make his beautiful but hard-hearted disciple change her mind and call him master. Now that Meng Sheng attacked, his disciple acknowledged him as her master. If he had known earlier, he would have found someone to rob his disciple, and then he would have acted as the master to save the disciple. It would have saved him a lot of trouble. Tell me. Song Cheng was overjoyed. He patted his chest and said, Disciple, I'll believe you no matter what you say. Was it easy for him to get such a disciple? He had to listen to his disciple. Whatever his disciple said was right. If she didn't agree, please refer to the above. Okay. Luo Qingtong looked at him with bloodshot eyes. We won't leave. Later, you will listen to everything I say. Okay. Song Cheng agreed without hesitation. His disciple wasn't an ordinary person. Listening to her was the right choice. Besides, if it really didn't work, it wouldn't be too late for him to risk his life. Anyway, it was just a matter of how serious the injury was. With this thought in mind, Song Cheng agreed without hesitation. Rumble. While the master and disciple were talking, the defensive array formation in the sky had taken shape. Numerous attacks as thick as dragons and snakes gathered in the sky and swam in all directions. Kill them. Saint Meng's voice was cold as he looked at Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng viciously. He didn't care about the people from the Empire of Qin and Tianyu branch who were trying to stop him. Old Master Lanyue, Old Duke Ling, and the others were also frozen in place by the powerful aura of the defensive formation. The stronger one was, the heavier the restrictions. Boss. Seeing this, little Overlord Yuan and the others' expressions changed, and they were about to charge over as well. Don't come over. Luo Qingtong shouted sternly. The bloody light in her eyes flickered violently. Her eye technique could see through the attacks within the formation, but if little Overlord Yuan and the others were to barge in, she wouldn't be able to take care of them at all. I won't recognize anyone who comes over. Don't cause trouble. Ling Tianhan said in a low voice. Boss has teacher Song Cheng by his side. Nothing will happen. It's useless for us to go there, and will only be a burden to boss. F***CK. Yuan Little Overlord punched the ground. Damn it. I will remember that Meng Saint. No matter what happens to boss in the future, I will F***King torture him to death when I become stronger. Su Xiao, Sima Ju, and Ling Yu, didn't say anything, but their tense expressions and clenched fists betrayed their thoughts. We must become stronger. At this moment, they all had a strong desire in their hearts. They had to become stronger at all costs. They didn't want to be powerless when boss was in danger. Rumble. Chapter 651. The sky was filled with violent attacks, like a torrential downpour, sweeping down from the sky. This was the Tianyu Branch Academy's defensive formation. It was connected to the main academy through the Dapu district's historical tablet. It could only be activated when the academy was in a life-and-death situation. This was to prevent people from coming to the academy to seek revenge and injure the students inside. Even an ordinary Saint Realm expert would be killed by the intensity of the attacks. As for the powerful Saint Realm experts, it was inevitable that they would be injured. Not to mention those below the Saint Realm. Hence, when Song Cheng saw Saint Meng activate the defensive formation of Tianyu Branch, he was in a hurry to take Luo Qingtong away. He was afraid that something would happen to her. But now that his disciple had said she wouldn't leave, he would naturally risk his life to accompany her. Disciple, tell me what to do. Song Cheng's expression was extremely grave as he watched the dragon-like attacks raining down from the sky. The playful smile he had when facing Luo Qingtong was completely gone. His aura was surging. In an instant, he unleashed all his strength. At this moment, everyone could feel how powerful his aura was. He was on a completely different level from Saint Meng. If it weren't for the defensive formation of the Tianyu Branch Academy, Saint Meng would have been killed by him sooner or later. It was likely that the latter had sensed the gap between them, which was why he had decisively mobilized the Saint Realm formation of Tianyu Branch School. Rumble. Dragons and snakes danced in the sky. Attacks as thick as a person's arm filled the sky. Under the control of Saint Meng's mind, they came from all directions and swore to kill Luo Qingtong and the others. Everyone in the Tianyu Branch Academy could clearly feel the killing intent that filled the sky. Somewhere far away, on the peak of a mountain, Yi Qianxian seemed to feel something and raised his head slightly. Did something happen to that woman? He looked at the Shifang dragon ring on his left ring finger. It was flickering with a faint black light. At the same time, in the Tianyu Branch Academy, the 9 Phoenix ring on Luo Qingtong's left ring finger was also flickering with a faint red light. Luo Qingtong did not notice this. All of her attention was focused on the violent attack that suddenly came crashing down from the sky. Looking at the dragon snake wantonly dancing and the violent and ferocious attack sweeping down, the corner of her lips suddenly raised into an extremely cold and wanton arc. He wanted to kill them with a saint stage array. She would let that Meng Xing know what a big mistake he had made. Master, 1 to the left, 2 forward. Can position, attack. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes flickered to the extreme. In the next second, she suddenly spoke to Song Cheng. All right. Looking at the direction Luo Qingtong pointed out, where the attacks were denser and more terrifying than anywhere else, Song Cheng was stunned. Then, he rushed over with Luo Qingtong. Left 1 forward 2, can position. Song Cheng stepped forward according to Luo Qingtong's instructions. Then, with a boom, he launched his attack. Boom boom boom. The power around him burst out violently. In an instant, it penetrated the violent attack that came crashing down. However, before Song Cheng could rejoice, rumble. Attacks from other directions came crashing down. Wah wah. Disciple, this method of yours won't work. Song Cheng stared blankly at the violent attacks coming from other directions. He lifted his sleeves and rolled up Luo Qingtong, ready to go all out. Chapter 652. I can't. The young girl's smile was evil and cold, revealing a bloodthirsty beauty. Master, take a look again. Her voice was faint. The next second, boom. Just as Luo Qingtong's voice fell, a deafening and violent sound rang between heaven and earth. Following which, a violent attack suddenly flew back from the place where Song Cheng had blasted out. The attack flew all over the array formation. Bang, bang, bang. One by one, the attacks of the sage state were dissipated after colliding with it. Then, they turned into ownerless energy and were absorbed by it. In the blink of an eye, the attack became incomparably ferocious and thick. This is the attack that I just launched? Song Cheng's eyes widened as he stared at the terrifying force that was sent flying backward and colliding with each other rapidly in all directions. That attack flew out at just the right place every time. Not only did it disperse the attacks that were rushing towards them, but it also strengthened its own power to a terrifying extent. Oh my God! His precious disciple's talent in array formations was really heaven-defying. Song Cheng had not expected Luo Qingtong to be able to achieve such a level. He had thought that she would be able to bring him to avoid the attacks of the array formation like the one in his dormitory. He had not expected that she could use her own power to break the attacks of the array formation. Not only that, she could also use the power of the array formation to break the array formation. How deep did one's array formation attainments have to be able to see through the attacks of the array formation and use them? That old friend of his, the Sage State Array Formation Grandmaster, could only do this much, right? Song Cheng thought about it and then took a deep breath. He decided that in the future, he would definitely bury his disciple's talent. Otherwise, if that fellow knew, wouldn't he come and snatch his disciple away? No. It was not easy for him to get this disciple, and he was still counting on her to teach him inscription techniques. He could not let anyone snatch her away. What he did not know was that Luo Qingtong's ocular technique could see through all array formations. To her, becoming a disciple was not an issue at all. She did not even need to learn array formations to be able to see through all the principles behind them. Rumble. While Song Cheng was still in shock, the attack had already shattered all of the array formation attacks that were heading towards them. Then, under the rebounding force of the last array formation attack, it flew rapidly towards Saint Meng. What? Seeing the attack coming towards him, Saint Meng, who still had a ferocious expression on his face, was stunned. Then, he quickly retreated backwards with a panicked expression. At the same time, he summoned the power of the array formation to protect him. Boom! The power of the defensive formation formed a huge shield in front of him. The power within it was vast and majestic. If Song Cheng had only used his own strength to launch this attack, it would have been quickly neutralized. But the attack was Saint Meng's attack, Saint Meng, Saint Meng use Meng in an instant. The defensive formation around Saint Meng was shattered with a loud bang. Chapter 653. Bam! His body rolled and smashed onto the ground. Before he could get up, Luo Qingtong's cold voice sounded again. Master, 2 from the right, 8 from the left. Kuan position. Attack. Upon hearing these words, Saint Meng's body, which was lying on the ground, twitched violently. He finally understood that the reason why Song Cheng's attack was so powerful was entirely because of Luo Qingtong's command. Who would have thought that this young girl, whom he had looked down on and wanted to snatch the spoils of war by force, would become the key to the victory between him and Song Cheng? Who would have thought that her attainments in array formations would be so terrifying? Her array formation skills were already comparable to those of a grandmaster of the Saint Realm. If he had known that Luo Qingtong was so talented, he might not have been blinded by greed and tried to snatch the 100 Ghosts banner. Or perhaps, he would have gone all out from the start and killed her. He would not have given anyone a chance to save her. As Saint Meng thought of this, his heart was filled with unspeakable regret. Song Cheng had already launched another attack under Luo Qingtong's command. He now knew how terrifying his precious disciple was in array formations. Instantly, he no longer had any worries and attacked more fiercely each time. Therefore, the group of people from Tianyu branch who were rooted to the ground stared dumbfoundedly at Saint Meng, who had been arrogant and resentful just a moment ago and had wanted to kill Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng. Under the protection of the array formation, Saint Meng was beaten to death by Song Cheng. The array formation's power could offset most of the power from Song Cheng's attack. Otherwise, Saint Meng would have died a long time ago. However, he would rather die. It would be better than being in such a miserable state. Ah! Saint Meng was once again sent flying by Song Cheng like a fly. His entire body was swollen and bruised, and there was not a single piece of unharmed flesh on his body. He was beaten around by Song Cheng like a ball. Originally, he had activated the array formation so that he could torture Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng to death. However, the more vicious and complacent he was before, the more miserable he was now. Luo Qingtong had completely taken advantage of the protective array formation. Not only would he not be able to gain any benefits from it, he would also be abused by Song Cheng. That was fine, but the problem was that he was now in a dilemma. If he activated the defensive formation, he would be beaten into a dead dog. Although he wouldn't die, it was a fate worse than death. But if the defensive formation was shut down, he would be in an even more miserable state. In his current situation, not to mention dealing with the uninjured Song Cheng, even Luo Qingtong might be able to easily kill him. The people from Tianyu branch were completely dumbfounded by what they saw. As far as they were concerned, a Saint Realm expert was a lofty and unreachable existence. However, Saint Meng was being tortured miserably. Furthermore, it was under the condition that the defensive formation had been activated. Wasn't this too shocking? Just how strong was Song Cheng? To think that he was able to ignore the defensive array and beat Saint Meng to such a state. Wasn't it said that the defensive formation could even kill a Saint Realm expert? Otherwise, why would Saint Meng be so arrogant just now? The crowd didn't know that this was all thanks to Luo Qingtong. They thought that Song Cheng's strength had already surpassed the Saint Realm. Instantly, they looked at him with incomparable reverence and respect. The dean of Tianyu branch and the others had their mouths wide open. They didn't know if they should be glad that Luo Qingtong, a genius student, was still alive or beg Song Cheng to spare Saint Meng, a Saint Realm expert from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. Chapter 654. Rumble. After repeated collisions, Luo Qingtong calculated all the nodes and asked Song Cheng to launch 12 attacks at the same time according to her instructions. In an instant, the power of the entire protection array was seized by Song Cheng's power. The overwhelming power gathered like a stormy sea. Just like the previous attack on Luo Qingtong and the rest, it blasted violently towards Saint Meng. If this attack hit, Saint Meng would definitely die. The blood-red light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was piercingly cold. She said that she would torture Saint Meng to death and she would never go back on her words. Don't think that she couldn't do anything to him just because he was protected by the protection array. Rumble. The sky was filled with dragon snake attacks. Saint Meng's face twitched when he saw the terrifying attacks coming toward him. Only now did he know what it meant to lift a rock only to drop it on his own feet. Just as he closed his eyes and prepared to die, a voice suddenly rang out. What's going on? Who dares to attack a member of the Empire of Qin's Holy Academy in the territory of the Empire of Qin? As this voice rang out, in an instant, a figure suddenly appeared in the middle of the protection array. The stronger one was, the more restrained they would be in the protection array. However, this person's figure was as smooth as flowing water, as if he was not affected by the array at all. That person waved his hand. In an instant, the terrifying attacks that were surging violently towards Saint Meng stopped in their tracks. Then, that person casually waved his sleeve and the attacks disappeared into nothingness. Grand Supreme President. Saint Meng was stunned when he saw that person's figure. Then, he was ecstatic. Grand Supreme President, you have to seek justice for me. Saint Meng lay on the ground with his swollen eyelids and his swollen face. He cried bitterly to the old man in red who had appeared in the sky. Grand Supreme President, this student stole the treasure I gave to my disciple. I asked her nicely for it but she refused. She and her master beat me up and even wanted to kill me. Grand Principal, the other party must have taken a fancy to my treasures. He dared to be so arrogant in the territory of the Sacred Academy of the Empire of Qin. I've already activated the defensive formation, but he still wants to kill me. Grand Principal, please help me. He cried bitterly as he lay on the ground with his buttocks raised. That look was as pitiful as it could get. How dare you? As soon as the Grand Dean arrived at Tianyu Branch, he left the enrollment team and went to find Luo Qingtong alone. However, the students of Tianyu Branch didn't have a good impression of Luo Qingtong and the others at that time. They deliberately gave him the wrong directions and deceived him that Luo Qingtong had gone out. The Grand Principal had been searching the entire way outside, but he still hadn't found anyone. He had a stomach full of anger, and when he heard this, he exploded. What kind of student is this? How can he be such a traitor? And you? Who are you? How dare you act so presumptuously in the branch of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin? As he spoke, he pointed at Song Cheng and released his aura to crush Song Cheng. Oh, no. It's the Grand Principal of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. I can't defeat him. My dear disciple, I'll send you away first. Seeing the Grand Principal's aura pressing down on him, Song Cheng's expression changed abruptly. He raised his hand and was about to send Luo Qingtong away, but the latter stopped him. It's all right, Master. Luo Qingtong looked at the Grand Principal of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin and smiled slightly. She had already recognized him. He was the weird old man who had given her the Heaven and Earth Dragon Soul Herb and the purple recommendation letter of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin when she was in the Black Field. She didn't expect that he was the Grand Principal of the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. No wonder he could take out the purple recommendation letter so easily. She moved her lips slightly and was about to send a message to him. Chapter 655. In an instant, a red glow flashed. An incomparably majestic aura, which was several times more powerful than that of the Grand Supreme Dean, suddenly flowed out from it. Yi Qianxian, who was thousands of miles away, sensed the danger on Luo Qingtong's side and transmitted his power over through the connection between the omnidirectional dragon ring and the 9 netherworld phoenix ring. This is... The Grand Supreme Dean, who was in the sky, was stunned when he sensed the aura that flowed out from it. Before he could react, there was a loud bang and the power that was suppressing Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng was blasted back at an extremely fast speed. Ah! Wait! There's a mistake. There's a mistake. The Grand Supreme Dean did not dare to retaliate when he saw the power of his aura being rebounded. Otherwise, the attack from the opposite side would be even more violent. Bang! Under the force of Yi Qianren's attack, his figure was shocked to the point where he was forced back several steps. He almost lost his balance and fell from the sky. That would be a huge loss of face. Damn it, Ming Zun was not even here, but the power transmitted over was still so powerful. The Grand Supreme Dean stared at the 9 netherworld phoenix ring in Luo Qingtong's hand. He had seen Yi Qianxian's attack with his own eyes. How could he not feel that it was Ming Zun's aura? Then, this young girl who had a spiritual weapon that was connected to Ming Zun's aura was the evil Dr. Child that he was looking for? The Grand Supreme Dean's face twitched as he thought of this. What the hell is this? The person that he had been looking for so long was actually standing right in front of him and was almost beaten up by him. The Grand Supreme Dean's face twitched even more violently as he thought of this. While his lips were twitching, the surrounding people were already stunned with their mouths agape. Oh my God! Everyone felt that they had never been frightened as much as they had been in their entire lives. The Grand Supreme Dean had personally attacked, but he was still beaten back. And it was obvious that he was beaten back. Instructor Song Cheng's strength was actually so powerful. The group of people widened their eyes. Saint Meng, who was lying on the ground, was even more dumbfounded. How was this possible? How could the Grand Supreme Dean's aura be repelled? He had exchanged blows with Song Cheng before. Song Cheng was clearly not that strong. Even with the power of the defensive formation, it was impossible to achieve such a feat. What was going on? He stared in disbelief in the direction of Luo Qingtong and Song Cheng. The latter was also shocked. Others might not know, but he did. Before he could even make a move, the Grand Principal had already been rebuked. Could it be that it was done by his precious disciple? As Song Cheng thought of this, he shook his head fiercely. Impossible. Even if his disciple grew 3 heads and 6 arms, and was so heaven-defying that he could ascend to the heavens, it was impossible for him to reach such a level. On the other hand, Luo Qingtong looked at the 9 nether phoenix ring on her left ring finger and felt Yi Qianqian's aura that had yet to completely dissipate. Her heart was slightly moved. Was it because of that man? Even though he was thousands of miles away, he still remembered her at all times. Luo Qingtong's heart felt as if it had been gently stung by something. It was an indescribable feeling. It was sweet and slightly numb. This feeling was very subtle, and Luo Qingtong was slightly stunned. Chapter 656. Xia, little doll, are you called Luo Qingtong? He stared at Luo Qingtong. Luo Qingtong was called back to her senses, and hearing his question, she instantly raised her eyebrows. Yes. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hearing her reply, the expression on Grand Principal's face was simply indescribable. What the hell is this? The person whom he had been searching for half a day was standing right in front of him and was almost injured by him. Not only that, he even almost provoked Ming Zun, that evil spirit, out. Thinking of how Yi Qianxian protected Luo Qingtong and thinking of how the other party didn't hesitate to break the principle of never contending for treasures and directly headed to the land beyond the clouds to look for him for Luo Qingtong, the expression on Grand Principal's face became even more splendid. Gosh, if he had known earlier, he would have looked for Luo Qingtong's portrait to take a look before he left. However, at that time, he wasn't sure if the other party was the evil Dr. Little Doll, so he didn't do so. What a scam. Grand Principal's face twitched badly. Xia, little doll, this is a complete misunderstanding. I didn't even know it was you earlier. He put on a bitter face. Don't be angry with me. I'm innocent because I didn't know. I don't dare to. Luo Qingtong looked at him and said leisurely, Grand Principal is so awe-inspiring. I'm afraid that if I'm not careful, I'll be smacked to death by you. When Luo Qingtong said these words, Grand Principal's face twitched again. Little doll, don't make fun of me. I've been searching for you for half a day. Grand Principal's face was scrunched up into a ball of bitter gourd. If it wasn't for the sake of finding you, would I need to come here? Who asked you to hide so tightly? You can't blame me for this. Who would have thought that such a low-level small country like Eastern Fence Country, a small marquis residence, could actually produce such a peerless genius like Luo Qingtong? If he knew, would he have almost injured her by accident earlier? He just didn't dare to believe it. Grand Principal lowered his voice and said humbly, Little doll, you see, I was wrong earlier, but didn't that person avenge you? Just now, you almost shattered my old bones. Moreover, if you hadn't given my purple recommendation card away, I wouldn't be bullied here. Speaking till here, Grand Principal instantly blew his beard and stared. This little doll still had the cheek to talk him. If she had gone to the Empire of Qin Empire, How would this matter be? As the two of them chatted back and forth, everyone around them was completely shocked and stood rooted to the ground. It was already shocking enough that the Grand Principal knew Luo Qingtong. She didn't expect the Grand Principal to be so humble in front of Luo Qingtong. Who exactly was Luo Qingtong? How could the Grand Dean treat him like this? When Saint Meng saw Grand Principal's arrival, he was pleasantly surprised. He was waiting for Grand Principal to kill Luo Qingtong and Luo Qingtong. He couldn't breathe and almost suffocated there. It's over, it's over. He rolled his eyes and thought while foaming at the mouth. If he had known that Luo Qingtong was valued by the Grand Principal, he would have come here to find her. Why would he covet the 100 Ghosts Gonfalon? No matter how good that damaged Sage Realm's celestial device was, could it be compared to Grand Principal's appreciation and promotion? Thinking like this, Saint Meng couldn't stand this stimulation anymore. Chapter 657. Saint Meng's fainting attracted the attention of the Grand Supreme Dean who was talking. Looking at the culprit who almost offended Luo Qingtong and Ming Zun, the Grand Supreme Dean snorted coldly. He raised his hand and swept Saint Meng's body off the stand with a bang. Shameless bastard, what a disgrace. As soon as Luo Qingtong's identity was exposed, the Grand Supreme Dean knew that Saint Meng's previous words were not true. Luo Qingtong was bullying others? She snatched the treasure he gave to his disciple and even joined forces with outsiders to kill him? Get out of here. If Luo Qingtong really wanted to kill him, once her identity was exposed, would he still have a chance to live? Moreover, who was behind Luo Qingtong? Blackfield and Ming Zun. Did that person lack treasures? As long as Luo Qingtong said the word, many treasures that even surpassing the Sage Realm would fight for would be found by him and sent to her. Why would she care about his trash? At first glance, he knew that Saint Meng wanted to deal with Luo Qingtong. After failing to use the protective formation, he wanted to kill her with a borrowed knife. He almost made a huge mistake because of her. Thinking of this, the Grand Supreme Dean could not hold back his anger. He had been looking for this evil doctor for so long. Was it easy for him? Just now, he was almost sent flying by Ming Zun. What the F***ck is a husky? He vented all his anger on Saint Meng. The power of this wave hit Saint Meng. In an instant, with a loud bang, Saint Meng was hit hard. Closely after that, he fell down from the spectator stand which was tens of meters high. Nobody knew whether his bones were broken or not. In short, he looked even more miserable than before. Take him back and hand him over to my good-for-nothing disciple. Ask him how he managed the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. It's really shameful that this kind of trash can sneak into our Holy Academy. Let him reflect on himself for a few days. As for this Saint Meng, erase his name in front of everyone and expel him from the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin. The Grand Supreme President's punishment was extremely severe. If Saint Meng had not already fainted, he would have fainted again. This time, he would probably never wake up again. Expelling his name and crippling his cultivation. That was a severe punishment. Saint Meng, a Saint Realm expert, was as good as crippled. From a Saint Realm expert to an ordinary person. Moreover, the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin wouldn't give him any chance to recover. Unless Saint Meng was lucky enough to obtain those legendary items in the future, he would have to live as an ordinary person for the rest of his life. As for his enemies, it would be fine if they didn't know about him, but if they did, they would definitely rush over and make him suffer a fate worse than death. However, the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin had publicly announced that their names would be erased. How could those people not know about it? It could be said that it was already too late for Saint Meng. It was enough to see how miserable his end would be. Hearing the Grand Supreme President's words, Luo Qingtong was non-committal. She looked at the old man in red in front of her with a faint smile. The old man felt goosebumps all over his body. What? Little girl, are you still not satisfied with this punishment? Then how do you want to deal with him? I'll listen to you, the Grand Supreme President said anxiously. No, I'm very satisfied. This outcome was very suitable for Saint Meng. On the contrary, it would be too easy for him to die directly. However, Luo Qingtong's lips curved slightly. Chapter 658. The saint token on Saint Meng's body was now in her hands. Grand Supreme Dean, I suffered a great shock just now. Is it all right for me to accept an apology gift? Pfft. As soon as Luo Qingtong said this, the sound of spitting water could be heard all around. Everyone stared at Luo Qingtong, dumbfounded. They really didn't know where her shock came from. Although any student would definitely be frightened by Saint Meng's oppression, Luo Qingtong was different. She handled it with ease as if she was the Saint Realm expert, while Saint Meng was like a clown jumping around and shouting. Towards the end, he activated the protective array and Luo Qingtong was unharmed under Song Cheng's protection. Instead, it was Saint Meng who was beaten to a pulp, okay? At this time, you're telling us that you suffered a great shock? The group of people who were truly frightened expressed their dissatisfaction. The Grand Supreme Dean's face was also twitching so badly that his beard was about to be whipped to the sky. What a sin! He looked at the saint token in Luo Qingtong's hand and felt a headache coming on. That, little doll, this saint token is really not suitable. That's the saint of the Sacred Academy. A special token that only people could have. The saint of the Empire of Qin had many privileges in the Sacred Academy and could even control the array outside the Sacred Academy. If he gave it to Luo Qingtong, it would be hard for him to explain. Oh. Luo Qingtong looked at him and nodded. All right, if this is not suitable, then give me a more suitable one, Grand Supreme Dean. She said with a smile, otherwise, what if you accidentally forget who I am one day and almost kill me with a slap? As she spoke, she looked at the Grand Supreme Dean with an expression that said, I don't mind if you give me your Grand Supreme Dean token. The Grand Supreme Dean's face was not only twitching, but his entire body was twitching. This girl was too treacherous. She actually used this to stop him. Just how long would she take to remember this careless mistake of his? The Grand Principal felt stifled. Looking at Luo Qingtong's face that was as beautiful as a flower, he finally waved his hand and shook his head with a pained expression. All right, all right, all right. Take it. However, I'll say this first. You can't use this command medallion casually. Otherwise, I won't be able to explain myself. Also, you can't just give it away. Thinking of how Luo Qingtong had casually given his purple recommendation letter to that blockhead Chu Lingfeng, the Grand Supreme Dean hurriedly added this sentence. Got it. Luo Qingtong naturally wouldn't make things difficult for the Grand Dean. She wouldn't give this saint token to anyone else. Hearing Luo Qingtong's promise, the Grand Dean was relieved. Soon after, he realized that he had given away a saint's token, but he still had to worry that the other party would give it away. This was definitely the most humiliating saint token in history. If someone else got their hands on this thing, they would treat it like a treasure. Unfortunately, he met a girl who didn't play by the rules. So, you're appeased now, right? Come, come, come. Hurry up. Take this year's end-of-the-year assessment's first-place acceptance letter. As the Grand Supreme Dean spoke, he threw out a purple notification letter. This was something that he had prepared long ago. This thing had the same effect as the purple recommendation letter that he had given Luo Qingtong previously. Chapter 659. Up until now, only Yuan Ma had enjoyed such an honor and treatment in Tianyu branch. The other students were at most Earth grade, and there were very few of them. Almost all of them were Profound grade and Yellow grade. Heaven, Earth, Profound, and Yellow grade, this was a kind of genius evaluation in the Empire of Qin's Holy Court. It was divided according to the students' performance in the year-end exam and the talent and strength they revealed. Heaven grade was the highest, and yellow grade was the lowest. And the resources and privileges enjoyed by different geniuses were different. The higher the genius level, the more privileges and resources they enjoyed in the empire of Qin's holy court. The Grand Supreme Dean gave out a purple notice letter. Everyone was shocked at first, but then they thought about it. Luo Qingtong's strength was indeed enough to become a heaven grade candidate. Not to mention other things, just look at the scene where she abused Shi Qingqing in the arena. If the latter was placed in any branch, she would have the strength of a heaven grade candidate. But in the end, wasn't she completely abused by Luo Qingtong? Even more, Luo Qingtong directly destroyed the 1,000 ghost kings summoned by Shi Qingqing with the strength of a martial emperor. With such strength, it would be unreasonable if she wasn't a heaven grade candidate. However, just as everyone was thinking this, they saw the Grand Supreme Dean take out 7 purple notices and throw them to Luo Qingtong, saying, "Those students are your people, right? Hurry up. Distribute these purple notices. Don't give your one to others." Did the Grand Supreme Dean think it was easy? It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens for others to get a purple notice letter, but for him, it was like giving out cabbages. However, he had no choice. This girl in front of him loved to give her good things to others for no reason. Alright, in other people's eyes, they were good things, but she didn't care about them at all. So in order to prepare for a rainy day, he thought for a while and painfully took out a pile of purple notices and let Luo Qingtong distribute them herself. She couldn't possibly give her card away, could she? Everyone was dumbfounded by what they saw. Little Tyrant Yuan and the others were all dumbfounded when they received the purple notification letter. Was this F** King real? Purple notice, the proof of being a heaven grade candidate. It was fine if their boss got it. After all, it lived up to its name. At most, Ling Tianhan was a genius who didn't lose to Yuanma. Now that his right hand had recovered and he could wield a sword with both hands, his strength was starting to recover. But they had it too. They looked at the notices in their hands, and were in disbelief. Little brat Yuan even pinched himself so hard that he cried for his father and mother before he believed it was true. The people who were even more in disbelief than them. Especially the head of the Tianyu branch. Seeing that almost all of his students were holding a purple notice, he didn't know what to say. He should be crying, of course. Or should he check if there was something wrong with his eyes and brain? These were the purple notices. 8 heaven grade candidates. Heaven grade candidates. Since when were heaven rank candidates of the Grand Qin Sacred Academy so worthless? The headmaster of the Tianyu branch deeply doubted that his own school had only produced a single heaven rank candidate, Yuanma, in all this time. Had he remembered incorrectly? Old Duke Ling, on the other hand, was grinning from ear to ear. The fact that their Ling family had 3 heaven-rank candidates this time was like a dream. As expected, following evil Dr. Ghost, I was the best choice. Chapter 660. While everyone was shocked, Luo Qingtong glanced at the Grand President with a smile. Then she said to Little Tyrant Yuan and the others, "Why don't you come over and thank the Grand President for his favor? With this purple letter, if anyone tries to deal with you in the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute, just say the Grand President's name. So that you won't be bullied." The Grand President's face twitched when he heard Luo Qingtong's words. This girl really didn't let go of any advantages. She wanted him to be their backer. So that they wouldn't be bullied by others for their heaven-grade exam spots. "Okay, I'll talk to them about this," he said with a toothache. "I promise I won't let anyone do anything to them because of this, okay?" As he spoke, he pulled Luo Qingtong down and avoided the group of people. He said, "That's right, you have to enter the Medicine Institute. I've already reserved the first seat for you. No one can snatch it from you." This girl's talent in alchemy was really too amazing. It would be a waste if she didn't go to the Medicine Institute. Of course, the Grand President had a secret idea in his heart that he couldn't tell others. This time, he had to rely on Luo Qingtong to save face for a certain grand event. I don't plan to go to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute for the time being. Also, I won't go to the Medicine Institute. Luo Qingtong's expression was indifferent. She said goodbye to Song Cheng and told him to wait for her in the dormitory. Then she left with the Grand President. She also had something to say to the Grand President. What? Hearing her words, the voice of the Grand Supreme Headmaster instantly rose. His voice was so loud that it could almost be heard by the entire Tianyu Branch Academy. You're not going to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute? My little ancestor. Great aunt. What else do you want? You should have entered the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute this year. But you gave that purple letter of recommendation to Chu Lingfeng, that blockhead. That's fine. In any case, that blockhead is also a talented person. It's the same for him to enter. But why didn't you come this time? The Grand President looked at Luo Qingtong, his eyes almost popping out. He had already sent out a bunch of purple letters of recommendation. He even gave out the Sage Medallion. This girl told him she wasn't going to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute? Did she believe that she would cry in front of her? The Grand President completely ignored Luo Qingtong's for the time being. Who asked him to be stood up by Luo Qingtong? Especially since the other party didn't seem to care much about the Great Qin Sacred Academy. I will definitely go. Yuan Mo was still in the Grand Qin Sacred Academy. Luo Qingtong wanted to break off the engagement legitimately and cut off all ties with Yuan Ma. Then, she would take back the engagement token that the Luo family had given to Yuan Ma. She will definitely go to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute. What's more, as the top sacred institute of the Empire of Qin's Sacred Dynasty, the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute is full of geniuses. No other place can compare with it in terms of resources and techniques. If she doesn't go to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute, should she stay outside and grope her way to level up? Isn't there something wrong with her head? She will go there, but not now. Something happened to my grandpa. I have to deal with it. I'll go to the Empire of Qin's Sacred Institute later, Luo Qingtong thought for a while and said to the Grand President, about half a year to a year. Looking at Luo Qingtong, the Grand President felt a burst of luck in his heart. What should he do? Chapter 661. No, he had to restrain his dignity as the Grand Principal. Besides, he couldn't afford to offend the devil behind this girl. Thinking of this, the Grand Principal was stunned. What's wrong with your grandfather? Even with the power of the Black Field, you can't solve it? If Ming Zun isn't free, I can go there myself, he said. Half a year to a year is too long. Normally, who would be like Luo Qingtong, who wouldn't go to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin even if they were admitted? Half a year to a year's leave? He hadn't even approved a month's leave, okay? The Grand Principal felt that Luo Qingtong was sent by God to test his patience. Only this little evil doctor dared to say this. If it were someone else, even if they were to take a day off, he would have given them a few tight slaps across the face and told them not to come back, okay? So I came to you to get in through the back door? Luo Qingtong looked at him innocently. In fact, it wouldn't be a problem for her to reapply to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin, but it would be too troublesome. There was a ready-made back door here for her to rely on, so why should she waste the effort? Besides, it was meaningless to bully those students of the branch school. My grandfather's matter is a bit complicated, and it can't be solved by force. If it weren't for this, Luo Qingtong wouldn't have waited until now to discuss with the Grand Principal. She would have asked the people from the Black Field to bring old Master Luo back. It was just that the matter involved was a bit complicated. If she guessed correctly, Empress Dowager Yan she had a deep relationship with her grandfather, and the entire Luo family. She couldn't use force before she figured it out, so she could only go and see for herself. Luo Qingtong couldn't explain it to the Grand Principal at the moment. Besides, this was the Luo family's private matter, so Luo Qingtong didn't intend to publicize it. She immediately said, anyway, I want to take half a year to a year's leave. Will you allow it? Yes. I permit it. The Grand Supreme Dean gritted his teeth as he looked at Luo Qingtong. This girl really had him in the palm of her hand. My God, what kind of sin did he commit? 1 year. I'll grant you 1 year. However, you must arrive within a year. You can only arrive in advance and not later. If you can do it, I will approve it for you. The Grand Supreme Dean threw caution to the wind. This girl didn't play by the rules, but he just couldn't bear to part with her. Okay. Luo Qingtong agreed. 1 year of vacation was enough. In fact, she had considered the possibility of an accident, which was why she had said half a year to a year. If everything went well, she might be able to go to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin in a short time. I hope this girl will keep her word. The Grand Supreme Dean muttered. He reluctantly wrote her a suspension permit and stamped it with his own Grand Supreme Dean order. In this way, even if Luo Qingtong didn't go to the Holy Academy of the Empire of Qin for a year, her qualifications as a heaven-rank candidate would still be retained. Luo Qingtong looked at the suspension permit in her hand and smiled. Thank you, Grand Supreme Dean. Humph, the Grand Supreme Dean looked at her and snorted. Then he said, then you must go to the Pharmaceutical Institute when you come back. I'll leave the chief seat for you. No one will dare to say anything. He still hadn't given up. He wanted to lure Luo Qingtong to the Pharmaceutical Institute. Luo Qingtong was not interested in this at all. Chapter 662. Humph. You little doll, are you teasing me? Is there anyone in this world who is more talented than you, the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? She can already refine pills. She's still unwilling to go to the pharmaceutical department. How frustrating. She was still waiting for her to regain her face a year later. Don't worry, her ability to refine pills is absolutely shocking. Su Xiaoxiao's stability in refining pills was definitely the best that Luo Qingtong had ever seen. No other alchemy genius could compare to her. Luo Qingtong said as she called Su Xiaoxiao over. The latter appeared in front of Luo Qingtong and the Grand Supreme Dean like a little rabbit. When she saw the Grand Supreme Dean, her face was timid and shy. However, after seeing Luo Qingtong, she calmed down a lot. Grand Supreme Dean, boss. She called out timidly. Little doll, the genius you recommended to me is such a little rabbit. The Grand Supreme Dean had already asked someone to bring Su Xiaoxiao's information. With one look, the corner of his mouth instantly twitched to the sky. A student from the trash class, the speed of refining pills was more than twice as fast as others. That was fine, but the problem was that the effects of the medicinal liquid refined by her hands would be reduced by half for no reason. This was really enough of a genius. The Grand Supreme Dean had never seen a talent that was more outlandish and trashy than this. Was this little doll making fun of him? Even if she didn't want to go to the pharmaceutical department, she didn't need to be like this. The Grand Supreme Dean blew his beard and stared. Luo Qingtong faintly smiled. Little rabbit? As a combat alchemist, Su Xiaoxiao, even if she was a rabbit that even wolves dared to bite. Luo Qingtong didn't refute and only said to Su Xiaoxiao, Xiaoxiao, the Grand Supreme Dean wants to see your refining ability. Luo Qingtong was someone who had been trained by herself, so she had absolute confidence. Su Xiaoxiao could definitely surprise the Grand Supreme Dean. Although Su Xiaoxiao was shy, she was absolutely obedient to Luo Qingtong. As soon as Luo Qingtong finished speaking, her hands were already moving like a phantom. It was truly a dazzling performance. Su Xiaoxiao's hands were filled with an endless amount of medicinal liquid, which transformed into a series of mirages. Su Xiaoxiao was extremely sensitive to the medicinal properties of medicinal liquids. This was almost a natural talent. If it wasn't for the limitations of her speed and effectiveness, she would definitely be the world's most talented alchemist. However, after going through Luo Qingtong's guidance and training, she completely abandoned some of the principles of ordinary pharmacists. Since the concoction speed was slow and the effect was low, she would use other medicinal liquids to catalyze it. She was still able to display an effect that wasn't inferior to that of an ordinary genius alchemist. In fact, because of her innate sensitivity towards medicinal liquids and the stability of the medicinal liquids she refined, it was even more breathtaking and surprising. At first, the Grand Supreme Dean didn't care. He didn't think that Su Xiaoxiao would be able to display any amazing ability. As the Grand Supreme Dean of the Holy Court of the Empire of Qin, he had seen countless geniuses. There were really too few that could move him. However, following Su Xiaoxiao's movements, his eyes slowly widened and then fiercely widened. The ability to mix medicinal liquids was simply shocking. The Grand Supreme Dean didn't know that there was actually someone in this world who could do this. My God! Just one medicinal liquid, this little rabbit-like student must have layered at least dozens of medicinal liquids, right? If it wasn't for the fact that she didn't have enough strength and couldn't control the majestic and vast power of the medicinal liquids after layering, it wouldn't be a problem for her to continue layering and mixing them. What kind of people were around this little child of the evil doctor? My God! Chapter 663. This. How did you do it? Seeing Su Xiaoxiao's almost terrifying overlaying ability, the Grand Supreme Dean instantly jumped up. Just by relying on the stability of this medicinal liquid, Su Xiaoxiao's so-called trash talent from before had been completely reversed. It was originally the trashiest and most impossible talent, but now it didn't exist in Su Xiaoxiao's body. What was going on? Did you comprehend it yourself? He looked at Su Xiaoxiao and asked. No. Boss taught me. As Su Xiaoxiao spoke, she turned to look at Luo Qingtong, her eyes flashing with a fine and bright light. Boss said that if I can't walk the same path as others, then I should open up a path that belongs to me, so that others can't catch up to me no matter how hard they try. Because of Luo Qingtong's words, she, who was originally destined to be trash, who shouldn't have accomplished anything, opened up another path and became a combat pharmacist. Su Xiaoxiao had never thought that a person like her, who was determined to have no achievements in the future, would actually have such a shocking ability to refine medicine under Luo Qingtong's guidance after meeting her. All her glory came from the beautiful red-clothed girl in front of her, who was as charming as blood. Luo Qingtong was her life's greatest salvation. She was the one who told her how to struggle out of the mire, how to walk out of her own world. Boss is the most powerful. She nodded heavily. Hearing this, the Grand Supreme Dean's eyes instantly lit up. He didn't expect it. This evil doctor's ability to teach people was so amazing. Her understanding of medicine refining was so profound. That's right, she was an alchemist. She had already jumped out of the realm of alchemists. Thinking this, the Grand Supreme Dean felt stifled again. If Luo Qingtong was willing to enter the pharmaceutical courtyard, she would definitely sweep them all away. But this girl wasn't interested. But fortunately, having Su Xiaoxiao was already pretty good. This ability to refine medicine was already enough to show disdain for most of the geniuses in the pharmaceutical courtyard. Thinking this, the Grand Supreme Dean suddenly said, "All right, you, Su Xiaoxiao, right? Follow me into the herb garden. You can choose any of the resources inside." If this little fellow was properly nurtured, he would definitely become one of his trump cards in the future. As for Luo Qingtong, the Grand Dean felt stifled and said, "Evil Dr. Little Doll, since you don't want to come to the medicine courtyard, then just come with the title of honorary chief disciple. You can still get the resources, but you don't have to come to the Pharmaceutical Institute for classes. How about it? You can't refuse this again. Those resources will benefit the people around you a lot. It could help them grow quickly. Others can't even dream of it. Especially this little girl. If she's able to obtain the various privileges and benefits within it, then it would simply be a great improvement to her alchemy strength. Before he could finish his words, Luo Qingtong had already said, "Deal." It was just a title, and he could get so many benefits. Why wouldn't he agree? Luo Qingtong just didn't want to waste her time in the pharmaceutical department. Since there were free benefits, she was naturally willing. However, I don't want to go in with my own identity. Arrange the identity of Luo Qi for me. In any case, this old man just wanted her to go in with a title. It didn't matter what the title was. Luo Qingtong didn't want to attract so much attention before she even arrived at the holy courtyard of the Empire of Qin. She had even taken half a year to a year off. You're tuning into the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.